Chapter 366. TSK, you? Ling Yichen, with your physique, I think you should just forget about it. Chen Sini mocked Ling Yichen when she saw that he was about to join in the fray. Then, Chen Sini and Ling Yichen started poking fun at each other again. Yun Jian did not say anything, but from her pursed lips, one could tell that she was in a good mood. Hey, did you guys know? I heard that the director of new cruise is coming to the party today. I wonder when he'll be here. At that moment, Yun Jian and the rest walked past a group of people who were chatting together and happened to hear their conversation. Really? That famous director of new cruise is coming too? I heard that new cruise has always been managed by someone called Zhang Jifan. The director of new cruise is so mysterious. Another round of whispers came. To be honest, Yun Jian's ears perked up when she heard about new cruise. It was her own company after all, so the concept was different. Hey, master, isn't that your company they're talking about? However, before he could finish his sentence, Zhang Xiaofeng stopped himself in time. Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Sini, and Ling Yichen were learning from Zhang Jifan. This was something that Yun Jian had already acquiesced to. However, Zhang Xiaofeng knew that announcing Yun Jian's identity would cause a huge uproar. Hence, Zhang Xiaofeng only mentioned it, but the meaning behind it was obvious. Yun Jian replied and walked past the group of people who were still discussing the topic. Yun Yi was confused. He rubbed his nose and followed Yun Jian. No matter how much his brother Yun Yi thought about it, he would never consider that. His younger sister was the director of new cruise. The masquerade party had started a long time ago, and the so-called masquerade party was nothing more than a group of people chatting, eating desserts, and dancing. You're all here. Soon, Zhang Qishan was done talking to the people from before and walked to Yun Jian and the rest who were tasting desserts. I was talking to my business partners just now, so I forgot about you guys. I'm sorry. Zhang Qishan was already in front of Yun Jian and the rest. He even smiled apologetically at Yun Jian and the rest. Yun Jian responded politely. Young lady, I should thank you too. Look at how you're teaching my phone, You don't charge anything. Zhang Qishan said and paused. I'm not taking in disciples, of course. I won't charge them. Zhang Qishan was a nice person. He expressed his deep friendliness to Yun Jian and the rest. Uncle. Just then, Song Shanshan's not-so-pleasant voice was heard again. Many people had seen how Yun Jian tied Song Shanshan up. However, because the venue was huge, Zhang Qishan, who was standing far away, did not see it at all. Hey, what's wrong, Shanshan? Zhang Qishan asked with a frown as he turned around abruptly and saw Song Shanshan's disheveled face. Uncle, it's fine. I'm fine. No one bullied me because I'm from the countryside. I'm really fine. Song Shanshan lowered her eyes and blinked hard to squeeze out a tear. Chapter 367. Song Shanshan's words were a blatant lie. After Zhang Qishan heard this, he immediately frowned. What's going on? Feng, did you bully your sister again? Zhang Qishan immediately pointed his finger at Zhang Xiaofeng. Huh? Dad, I didn't. Zhang Xiaofeng felt wronged. He turned to glare at Song Shanshan, feeling wronged. Uncle, he didn't. Brother Xiaofeng really didn't bully me. He really didn't. Song Shanshan's voice became softer and softer as she spoke. There was a hint of pity in her tone. Her pitiful look made Zhang Qishan misunderstand even more. Zhang Qishan immediately pointed his finger at his son. He looked at Zhang Xiaofeng and reprimanded him loudly. Feng, Shanshan is your sister. How can you bully her like this every day? Dad, I didn't. Zhang Xiaofeng was instantly enraged. He stood up and yelled at Zhang Qishan, sounding like a man who refused to admit defeat. Moreover, I don't have a sister like her. One in front of everyone and one behind everyone. Zhang Xiaofeng could no longer hold it in and growled. Uncle, Don't throw a tantrum at Brother Xiaofeng because of me. It's not good. Brother Xiaofeng will hate me even more. Song Shanshan added. It was not to the point of no return yet. Zhang Qishan was instantly enraged. He felt that Song Shanshan and the rest were his distant relatives. They came all the way from a remote village to his house as guests. On the other hand, his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, kept showing an unwelcoming attitude. It was too embarrassing for him. Zhang Qishan raised his hand and slapped Zhang Xiaofeng hard. No one saw the smirk on Song Shanshan's face at Zhang Xiaofeng. Song Shanshan watched as Zhang Qishan swung his hand at Zhang Xiaofeng. Just as his hand was about to hit Zhang Xiaofeng's handsome face, a pair of fair and delicate hands reached out to stop him. Yun Jian reached out and stopped Zhang Qishan. She pulled Zhang Xiaofeng to the side and dodged the slap. Uncle, I was the one who bullied her. Yun Jian did not evade the accusation. She stood up boldly and admitted the truth. You? Zhang Qishan was stunned. It was as if he was getting to know Yun Jian all over again. He looked at her from head to toe and was completely dumbfounded. Song Shanshan gritted her teeth. She did not expect Yun Jian to admit it, but it was good. Uncle, don't fight with my brothers and sisters because of me. I'm going back to the village in a few days anyway. Song Shanshan pretended that she was forced to go back to the village. Her demeanor made Zhang Xiaofeng and the rest shudder in disgust once more. Go, go, go. Go back as soon as possible. Zhang Xiaofeng followed Song Shanshan's words and shouted. Song Shanshan naturally did not plan to go back. She just wanted to pretend to be pitiful in front of Zhang Qishan. Zhang Qishan would definitely ask her to stay in the end. Song Shanshan was right. When Zhang Qishan heard his son's unreasonable words, he immediately shouted at Zhang Xiaofeng, Feng, Chapter 368. But uncle, Brother Xiaofeng and the rest don't seem to welcome me here. Song Shanshan blinked, even sneering triumphantly at Yun Jian from an angle that Zhang Qishan could not see. That's not true. Zhang Qishan was completely fooled by Song Shanshan. He turned to look at his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, and ordered him, Feng, apologize to Shanshan right now. Why should I, Dad? I didn't bully her. Master has already said it. Zhang Xiaofeng said innocently. He gritted his teeth hatefully, but he refused to give in. Yun Jian had already admitted that she bullied Song Shanshan, but Zhang Qishan could not order Yun Jian to apologize to Song Shanshan. Therefore, Zhang Qishan naturally wanted to take a step back and let his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, apologize on behalf of his master, Yun Jian. Shanshan was magnanimous. She would probably let it go, right? After all, from Zhang Qishan's point of view, Song Shanshan and the rest were all innocent children. These children were just like him when he was young in the countryside. Because their family was poor and had no money, they had to starve from a young age. Today, with Song Shanshan as the guest, Zhang Qishan felt that he had to treat them well. I bullied her. I apologize, Yun Jian suddenly spoke up. Master. Zhang Xiaofeng was dumbfounded. Chen Sini and Ling Yichen were stunned as well. From what they could see, Yun Jian had never apologized to anyone before. She was so domineering, yet she wanted to apologize to Song Shanshan on behalf of Zhang Xiaofeng. Song Shanshan was stunned too, but she was proud of herself. Zhang Qishan was stunned too. Yun Jian was his son's master, and Song Shanshan was his distant relative. Zhang Qishan was the one who felt the most embarrassed when the two of them quarreled. He wanted Zhang Xiaofeng to apologize to Song Shanshan because he did not want to embarrass Yun Jian. Secondly, he wanted to appease Song Shanshan. It was just that his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, had to suffer. However, he did not expect Yun Jian to stand up and apologize. At this moment, Yun Jian stepped forward. She walked up to Song Shanshan and pursed her red lips under Song Shanshan's expectant gaze. Yun Jian pursed her red lips and said, "First of all, I want to apologize for your insistence on taking off my down jacket just now. When I refused, you attacked me and took off my clothes. After Zhang Xiaofeng and the others heard Yun Jian's apology, they were all stunned. Is Yun Jian apologizing? She was simply conveying a message to Zhang Qishan. That was because Song Shanshan insisted on taking off her clothes. That was why she fought back. What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't. Song Shanshan was taken aback. She did not expect Yun Jian to use such a method to express her actions. Oh, you forgot? The corners of Yun Jian's lips curled up into a creepy smirk as she looked at Song Shanshan with a smile that sent chills down one's spine. Uncle, she's talking nonsense. There's no such thing. Song Shanshan panicked because her true self was exposed before Zhang Qishan's eyes. She quickly explained. My master's down jacket is still in their hands. Song Shanshan was the one who took off my master's clothes and took it away. Zhang Xiaofeng had an idea. He saw someone standing behind Song Shanshan still holding Yun Jian's down jacket, so he turned around and accused Song Shanshan. You're lying. Song Shanshan was really panicking now. She shouted at Zhang Xiaofeng again in fear. Chapter 369. This time, Song Shanshan was truly speechless as she pulled a long face. After Yun Jian had tied her up earlier and Song Shanshan had someone release her, she gritted her teeth and said she wanted revenge. Someone in Song Shanshan's group had picked up Yun Jian's down jacket and brought it along. After all, they came from the poor countryside. The person who brought the down jacket had food and clothing problems all year round. Seeing that Yun Jian did not want the down jacket anymore, she quickly took it with her. It was such a waste not to take such a good piece of clothing. Song Shanshan did not notice it either. After she was released, her mind was preoccupied with taking revenge on Yun Jian, so she hurried over with the group. She did not expect her carelessness to be used against her. I. Song Shanshan kept repeating the same word. She could not even finish the rest of her sentence. Zhang Qishan was also a farmer from the countryside, but after so many years in the business world, how could he not notice the change in Song Shanshan? Especially when Zhang Qishan saw Yun Jian for the first time. Yun Jian was wearing the down jacket. Now, the down jacket was in the hands of Song Shanshan and her people. What did this mean? Uncle, Song Shanshan was anxious to explain herself. However, Zhang Qishan stopped her. All right, don't say anything. I'll send all of you back to the countryside tomorrow. Zhang Qishan's attitude changed too quickly. In fact, Zhang Qishan had met many scheming people when he was working in Longmen City in his early years. There were even many who were two-faced. After being deceived a few times, Zhang Qishan hated such people. Very, very much. In the beginning, Song Shanshan and the rest gave Zhang Qishan the impression that they were good children who would not do anything bad. They came from the countryside and were his distant relatives. It was only natural for him to take care of them. However, when Zhang Qishan found out about Song Shanshan's true colors just now, he did not expose her immediately. However, his impatient expression proved one thing. He did not want to see Song Shanshan and her group anymore. Moreover, Zhang Xiaofeng was his son. As a father, he would naturally side with his son. Uncle. Song Shanshan panicked when she saw that Zhang Qishan was serious. However, Zhang Qishan cut her off impatiently. That's enough. You've been playing here for days. Your parents will be worried. This statement meant that Zhang Qishan was determined to send Song Shanshan and the rest back. Song Shanshan's face darkened. Her hatred for Yun Jian and the rest grew. Just as Song Shanshan and the rest's faces darkened in fear, a middle-aged man quickly walked up to Zhang Qishan and asked, CEO Zhang, is the director of New Cruise here? Zhang Qishan was stunned. Only then did he realize that the director of New Cruise would be here today. Zhang Qishan stared blankly for a moment before shaking his head. Not yet. Actually, Zhang Qishan had no idea who the chairman of New Cruise was. This middle-aged white-collar man who came out of nowhere clearly had a favor to ask of New Cruise's director. His eyes darkened when he heard Zhang Qishan's question. "Uncle, New Cruise? Is that the company that's been popular lately?" Song Shanshan suddenly perked up and lifted her head to ask Zhang Qishan. Although Zhang Qishan was unhappy with Song Shanshan's scheming earlier, he would not ignore her. Hence, he nodded. "Then, is the director of New Cruise a man or a woman?" Song Shanshan asked again. Yin Jian, who was standing not too far away, was surprised by Song Shanshan's question. However, Yin Jian could see Song Shanshan's intention from her gaze. Chapter 370. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what Song Shanshan's motive was just by looking at her eyes. Especially since Song Shanshan was from the countryside. Someone from the countryside like her who had been living the life of a rich person for a few days after coming here would definitely feel indignant about being sent back to the countryside all of a sudden. "Well, I'm not too sure myself. But Shanshan, why are you asking about this?" Zhang Qishan did not know what Song Shanshan was thinking, so he asked her back after answering her. "Nothing, uncle. It's nothing. I'm just asking." Although Song Shanshan did not say it out loud, her expression was rich. It was not hard to tell that she was excited and expectant. She was looking forward to the chairman of New Cruise being a man so that she could. Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Sini, and Ling Yichen were stunned when they heard Song Shanshan's words but soon understood her plan. The three of them snickered to themselves. "Heh, the person you want to suck up to, the chairman of New Cruise, is right in front of you. They're here, they're here. The people from New Cruise are here." Just then, a few people came in from the entrance. Someone could not help but shout when they saw them. The people who came in were all men in their 30s and 40s. They were the higher-ups who represented New Cruise in various occasions. Yun Jian knew them too and was very familiar with them. They were the people who had walked out of Xinjiang town with her and Zhang Jifan back then. Furthermore, the few of them were doing quite well now. "They're here, they're here. Which one of them is the chairman of New Cruise?" Song Shanshan cried out when she saw them. She could not help but roar in her heart. Who was the chairman of New Cruise? If it was one of these men, then she would definitely have to suck up to them. At least she would never go back to a destitute place like the countryside again. She, Song Shanshan, did not want to go back to the countryside. That was the only way she could think of. The appearance of these men made Zhang Qishan take a few more glances. He had heard of New Cruise before, and among these men, there was a high chance that one of them was the famous chairman of New Cruise. Therefore, Zhang Qishan was also a little excited. The men scanned the place before making their way to where Yin Jian was. Song Shanshan almost screamed when she saw this. "Oh my God, they couldn't have walked over because they saw me, right?" Yun Yi stood beside Yin Jian. He only frowned slightly as he watched the group of people walking towards them. However, he didn't find anything strange. It was only when the men came to Zhang Qishan and, under his surprised gaze, walked around him to Yun Jian behind him and bowed 90 degrees to Yun Jian, greeting her in unison, "Sister Jian." "Sister Jian, what? What?" These higher-ups of New Cruise were addressing Yun Jian as Sister Jian. It meant, Song Shanshan's smile instantly froze on the spot. She was completely dumbfounded. Zhang Qishan was also stunned. As for Yun Yi, who stood beside Yun Jian, his eyelids tightened. Zhang Xiaofeng, on the other hand, went over with a chuckle and put his arm around one of the men's shoulders to chat. "Old Hegu, you're only here now." The man who was called Old Hegu was a gangster who left Xinjiang town with Yun Jian back then. Zhang Xiaofeng and his brothers were now working under Zhang Jifan in New Cruise, so they were familiar with the people there. Zhang Qishan was even more surprised when he saw how familiar his son was with the people in New Cruise. Yin Yi's shock could not be described as astonishment. Looking at Yun Jian, he asked after a beat, "Xiao Jian, is New Cruise your company?" Yin Yi was smart enough to connect the dots. His younger sister's change and the rise of new crews seemed to have started at the same time. As for him asking Yun Jian with a questioning tone, it was only to get a definite answer. Chapter 371. Once Yun Yi said that, the people around them looked at Yun Jian inquisitively. What Yun Yi asked was what everyone was thinking. Since these middle-aged men were New Cruise's higher-ups, it was safe to say that other than Zhang Jifan or one of New Cruise's directors, they would not respect anyone else. What did it mean when they went to Yun Jian and called her sister Jian? What did you say? She's New Cruise's director? Song Shanshan shrieked before Yun Jian could answer Yun Yi. New Cruise's director was a woman? It was Yun Jian who she had argued with before. Song Shanshan dared not accept the truth. Is there a problem? Yun Jian raised a brow and tilted her head to glare at Song Shanshan with a faint smile before looking at Yun Yi and telling him the truth in a firm voice. Yes, Gu, I founded New Cruise. Yun Jian's flat and monotonous words sent chills down everyone's spines. Hearing about it was far from being as vivid as seeing it with one's own ears. For a moment, other than Zhang Xiaofeng, Bro He, and the higher-ups of New Cruise, everyone who heard the commotion, including Yun Yi, were frozen in their last action as they stood dumbly where they were. New Cruise, what kind of company was that? Its rise was when the auto show officially kicked off. Until now, it was probably less than 2 months old and it had already taken the country by storm. It had even become a national model pioneer in the automobile marketing industry. Even some of the international business tycoons would have to nod their heads in awe at such results. The director of such a company, the founder of New Cruise, was a young girl who was not even 18 yet. Yun Yi opened his mouth but he was so shocked that he could not utter a single word. Was this really his younger sister, Yun Jian? When Yun Jian saw the astonishment on her brother's handsome face when he looked at her, she pressed her lips together and continued to explain, Gu, I didn't tell you before because I was afraid that you wouldn't agree to me starting the company. Of course, he would not agree. If Yun Yi had known that Yun Jian wanted to start a company from the start, he would never have let her go down this path. After all, starting a company was a risk that could come at any time. Before Yun Yi could reply to Yun Jian, however, a voice cut in. Cough, cough. Hello, director of New Cruise. I have something to discuss with you. The person who spoke was the middle-aged man who had come to ask Zhang Qishan if New Cruise's director was here. However, before the middle-aged man could finish, Yun Jian cut him off. You don't have to talk to me about it. Go to the company and look for Zhang Jifan. He can make the decision. Yun Jian was really good at being a hands-off boss. The middle-aged man could only nod and leave. Uncle, thank you for your hospitality today. I'd like to leave first. Yun Jian waved her arms and said to Zhang Qishan. Zhang Qishan thought that he could ask his son, Zhang Xiaofeng, if he had any questions, so he nodded. Hence, Yun Jian greeted Bro He a few more times and bade farewell to Zhang Xiaofeng and the rest. She then turned to Yun Yi and said, Gu, let's talk outside. From start to finish, the overbearing Song Shanshan had been completely ignored. Chapter 372. Yun Yi stood beside Yun Jian. His tall frame was a stark contrast to Yun Jian's petite frame. He tilted his head to look at his younger sister, his brows furrowed so tightly that they could squash a fly. Just as they stepped out of the heated venue, the winter breeze blew. The piercing wind blew against Yun Jian, who was only wearing an evening gown that exposed her arms and shoulders without a jacket. The winter breeze was the most piercing of all 4 seasons, especially when Yun Jian's down jacket was taken away by Song Shanshan's men. Even if Song Shanshan's men did not want the jacket, Yun Jian would not take it back. Xiao Jian, are you cold? Yun Yi was shivering from the cold as well, but he was not in a hurry to ask Yun Jian about New Cruise. Instead, he was concerned about his younger sister. Go, I'm not cold. The weather was freezing, but Yun Jian was not afraid of the cold. In her past life, Yun Jian had gone on a mission in a place that was dozens of degrees below zero. She had only worn a sleeveless jacket back then and was nearly frozen into a block of ice. In spite of it, she overcame everything and returned after completing the mission. Therefore, to Yun Jian, the cold was nothing. Yun Yi, who was wearing a thin suit, was shivering from the cold as well. Just as he was about to remove his jacket to help Yun Jian put it on, he saw a flash in front of him. A man who was as tall as him but had more defined eyebrows and a finely sculpted face appeared in front of his younger sister. Ce draped a cotton-padded jacket over Yun Jian. Looking at Yun Jian's face that was red from the cold but unaware of it, he asked with heartache, "Why didn't you bring a jacket out?" Yun Yi's eyelid twitched when he saw Ce, who appeared out of nowhere. Yun Yi was no stranger to Ce since they were living under the same roof, but he had never seen Ce being so gentle to Yun Jian. Just like a couple in love? "Why are you here?" Yun Jian asked Ce as she looked up and adjusted the men's cotton-padded jacket. "Just happened to pass by," Ce said without batting an eyelid. He was not going to say that he followed Yun Jian here on purpose. In spite of it, Ce really did not want to go to such a fancy party because he disliked the environment. "Let me send you guys home." Ce took a step back to stand beside Yun Jian and grabbed Yun Jian's hand to head to the car. "Wait!" Yun Yi shouted. "What are you guys doing?" Yun Yi asked with furrowed brows when he saw Ce grabbing Yun Jian's hand. Yun Jian was stunned. She did not expect Ce to grab her hand in front of her brother. She quickly pulled her hand back. Ce was not in a hurry to grab Yun Jian's hand. He raised his brows and the street lights shone on him, adding a hint of masculinity to his perfect figure. "As you can see," Ce said with a smirk, spreading his arms at Yun Yi in an irritating manner. "You." Yun Yi's eyes widened. He did not expect Ce to take advantage of the little sister he had been protecting since young. When did this happen? Why didn't he know about it? Chapter 373. The moment Yun Jian looked down, Yun Yi was already grabbing Ce's collar. Startled, she said quickly, "Gu, he didn't." "Xiao Jian, tell me the truth. Did he bully you?" "If he did, I won't go easy on him." Yun Yi was enraged as his grip on Ce's collar tightened. Ce, on the other hand, did not look like he was going to fight Yun Yi at all. Yun Jian knew that if Ce wanted to fight, Yun Yi would not even be able to touch his collar. He really didn't. "I was willing to do it." Yun Jian shook her head at Yun Yi. To put Yun Yi's mind at ease, she continued, "Gu, I'm so good. How can I be bullied?" Yun Jian sounded a little guilty. She was good, but she really could not do anything to Ce. Once Yun Yi thought about it and realized that his younger sister was indeed skilled and did not look like she would be bullied, he let it go and looked down, calming down instantly. Ce was only slightly taller than Yun Yi, so Yun Yi released his grip at once after hearing Yun Jian's explanation. "When did you guys start?" Yun Yi had the right to ask when his younger sister, whom he had been protecting since young, was snatched away. "Not too long ago," Yun Jian answered Yun Yi like an obedient younger sister. Yun Jian felt warm inside. She was no longer alone. It felt good to have family protecting her. "I'm telling you, no matter who you are, even if you're God or the Jade Emperor, don't let me find out that you're bullying my younger sister. Otherwise, I'll kill you even if I have to die." Yun Yi suddenly turned to look at Ce and warned sternly. "If I bully her, you don't have to do anything." "I'll be damned," Ce said sincerely. Yun Jian was probably the only person in the world who could make Ce swear and curse him like that. Yun Yi withdrew his aggressive attitude and chuckled before turning to look at Ce with a sly grin. "If it's you, I won't have to worry about Xiao Jian's future." Haha. As he spoke, Yun Yi laughed heartily and led the way. What did he mean? Yun Jian mulled over her brother's words before she blushed. Could it be that her brother had seen Ce's character from the start? "Xiao Jian, brother-in-law, why are you still standing there? Where's the car? Hurry, I'm numb from the cold." Yun Yi, who had walked some distance away, suddenly realized that she did not know where to go, so she turned to call out to her brother. Hearing Yun-yi calling Ce brother-in-law, Yun-jian blushed again. Let's go. Ce pressed his lips into a smirk and grabbed Yun-jian's hand with one hand to lead the way. Leading Yun-jian and Yun-yi, he came to an eye-catching Rolls-Royce sedan not far away. Let's go. Ce tilted his head and told them. He arranged for Yun-jian and Yun-yi to sit in the back seat while he sat in the front passenger seat. Ce did not drive his Lamborghini here. The person who drove the Rolls-Royce was Adam, who had settled down here. Drive, Ce told Adam after they got into the car. Yes. Adam nodded, but he still saw Yun-jian's men's jacket in the back seat through the rearview mirror. This cotton-padded jacket was a rare birthday gift from Shuang, and he hadn't even had the chance to wear it once. Chapter 374. The aggrieved Adam drove the group home with a dark expression. On the way, Yun-jian told Yun-yi as much as she could about the fact that she was New Cruise's director. She did not hold anything back from the beginning. However, she kept one thing to herself, which was that the funds she used to start New Cruise were all from a bank loan. It was not that Yun-yi did not believe her. Instead, he was convinced and accepted Yun-jian's identity. Everything seemed to have returned to normal. Yun-jian spent her days in school, the military training camp, Falcon Hall's headquarters, home, and other places. Her days were quite comfortable. At the same time, Yun-jian was planning to make a trip back to Kosha Mercenaries HQ. She had thought of the plan a long time ago but had not had the time to put it into practice. Yun-jian planned to make a trip back to Kosha Mercenaries HQ during the winter break after the final exams. 3 weeks passed very quickly, and the final exam came as scheduled. After 2 days of exams, all the students were disoriented. Yun-jian was the only one who was still in good condition. Wow, Jian-jian, I'm finally free. I'm about to vomit blood after 2 days of exam papers. I still have to listen to the principal's speech later. Just thinking about it makes me dizzy, but I can finally have a break. Haha. You have no idea how long I've been waiting for this day. Chen Sini's chatterbox voice rang in Yun-jian's ears again. It had been a long time since she heard Chen Sini's sarcasm, but Yun-jian was not annoyed at all today. Qingyu had gone back to her hometown recently, so she did not come for the exams. Qingyu's parents were still alive. She was already 10 years old when she was abducted into the organization. 10 years old was enough for her to remember things. Qingyu did not stay long in the organization before she was picked by Snake Lizard to play with poison. It was only after she mastered her poison skills that she followed Yun-jian around. It was safe to say that Qingyu did not go through the cruel elimination training of an assassin. Since her parents were still alive, it was only natural for her to visit them once in a while. Hey, Jian-jian, are you listening to me? Chen Sini saw that Yun-jian was looking away. She didn't know what she was thinking, so she waved her hand and asked. I'm listening. Yun-jian narrowed her eyes and replied to Chen Sini. Chen Sini started chatting again. Winter vacation was coming. Normally, the students would pack their bags and go home after finishing their exams and listening to the principal's winter vacation speech. She didn't need to go to school anymore. As for the final results, Longmen No. 1 High School had the habit of sending every student's report card to their home in the form of a letter. This way, every student's parents would receive a report card. This was also a good idea, because in this way, some students who did not do well in school but were afraid of being scolded by their parents would study hard. After Yun-jian finished packing her bag, she saw Qin Yiru when she was leaving the classroom. Qin Yiru had applied for half a day's leave today. Yun-jian was a student living in school, so Qin Yiru was here to pack Yun-jian's bed and things to bring home. Just as Qin Yiru was packing Yun-jian's bed and things, Yun-jian's phone that had been silent for a long time vibrated all of a sudden. She glanced at Qin Yiru and walked out of the dorm to take out her phone to read the latest message. It was an urgent notice from Gu Junjian. Chapter 375. Gu Junjian usually did not send text messages. Therefore, under such circumstances, for Gu Junjian to send a text message, it must be something very important. Yun Jian turned off her phone and went back to the dorm to see Qin Yiru packing everything on her bed into a woven bag. Qin Yiru was struggling to walk out with the bag in her hands. "Mom, let me do it." Yun Jian went over and snatched the bag from Qin Yiru. "Xiao Jian, Mom can carry it." Qin Yiru called out when she saw Yun Jian snatching the bag from her. "I'll do it," Yun Jian grinned and said to Qin Yiru before heading out with the bag in one hand. "Mom will carry your bag then. Otherwise, give it back to me." Qin Yiru went over to take the bag from Yun Jian's shoulder and insisted on carrying it. The bag was light and Yun Jian did not force it. The bag she was carrying was heavy, but it was nothing to her. In comparison, Yun Jian was most satisfied with the motherly love she had now. After bringing everything home, Yun Jian hurriedly told Qin Yiru that there was an emergency in the military before she headed out. Qin Yiru did not object to Yun Jian's status as a member of the Advanced Special Forces, but she wanted Yun Jian to put her safety first. This was the most basic request a mother had for her child. "Xiao Jian, bring this pancake with you. You can have it on the way. It's dinner time now, you can't go hungry." Qin Yiru caught up to Yun Jian when she saw her leaving in a hurry and stuffed the pancake she had baked into Yun Jian's hand. "Thank you, Mom." Yun Jian stuck out her tongue and smiled. "Silly child, what are you thanking me for? We're family, so there's no need to be so formal." Qin Yiru replied with a smile. Yun Jian nodded and left with a smile. After leaving the house, she went to the parking lot not far from Falcon Hall's headquarters. Her Ferrari sports car had always been parked here. Yun Jian got into the Ferrari sports car. She sped up and the car sped off like a bolt of lightning. Soon, they drove past the streets. In the military training camp, Chu Ning, Chu Xiangnan, and the others were already standing in a row. Yun Jian sped to the outside of the military training camp. She ran inside and stood in line. If one took a closer look, they would see traces of the pancake on the corner of Yun Jian's mouth. At this moment, other than Yun Jian, Chu Ning, and the rest, there were also many veterans from the Special Forces standing at the side. Some were even official members of the Advanced Special Forces. Gu Junjian stood at the front of the group. His brows were tightly furrowed as he stared at the crowd. "Is everyone here?" "Everyone, report your numbers," Gu Junjian shouted. Then, the group reported their numbers. After Gu Junjian verified the number of people, he cut to the chase. "The mission this time is very urgent. That's why I suddenly called all of you to the military." Gu Junjian frowned and said with a serious expression. Then, he continued, "This morning, a priceless antique was stolen from the Zhe Province Museum. The thief is an internationally renowned thief who is skilled in martial arts. This antique is our Z country's national treasure. If it's stolen, it's not just the treasure that's lost, but also the dignity of the Z country. That's why I called all of you here today to get this item back." Chapter 376. Gu Yunjian's words were masculine and righteous, coupled with the heroic bearing of a soldier. Even though Gu Junjian was already middle-aged, it did not change his identity as the leader of the Advanced Special Forces. His words made everyone present feel a deep sense of oppression. Except for Yun Jian. "Report. Is the mission going to be carried out immediately?" Leader Lu Shiyun asked. Gu Junjian glanced over and nodded. "That's right. I'll be sending 3 teams to Country A to retrieve the stolen antiques." 3 teams meant that there were members from 3 teams. Usually, a team was made up of 7 to 8 people. Yun Jian's team of 7 was considered one team. Sending 3 teams to carry out the mission showed that Gu Junjian really valued this mission. After Gu Junjian finished speaking, he pointed at the members of the other 2 teams. The 2 groups he was referring to were all Advanced Special Forces soldiers and veterans. Their abilities were the pioneers among the Advanced Special Forces and they were the cream of the crop. When Gu Junjian pointed at them, it meant that those two teams had been included in the three teams heading to Country A for the mission. Finally, Gu Yunjian's hands stopped at Yunjian's team. Then, Gu Junjian said to Yunjian's team of 7, "Get ready. We'll depart to Country A in 30 minutes. I'll inform your family members one by one. Also, there are 7 people in your team. You've only given yourselves code names. Now, think of a name for your team. Tell me in 30 minutes. Now, go equip your weapons." This time, Gu Junjian wanted Yunjian's team of 7 to be fully armed. The mission this time was far more difficult than the previous one. The reason why Gu Junjian did not send veterans was that Yunjian's team of 7 had completed the mission in a shocking amount of time. This mission should not have been assigned to Yunjian's team of 7 rookies, but it was still assigned to them. This showed how much Gu Junjian valued Yunjian's team of 7. Yunjian and the others entered the weapons room. This time, they weren't only allowed to choose one weapon. They were fully equipped, official special forces equipment. After equipping the equipment, they were no stranger to it. After the previous mission ended, Gu Junjian had increased the difficulty of the mission. Everything was done according to the standard of the advanced special forces. This was both an honor and torture. These days, other than Yunjian, everyone else was exhausted. But all in all, now was the time to check the results. "Hey, let's quickly discuss. What should we name our team?" "Hee, how about my codename, Thunderbolt Squad?" Chu Xiangnan laughed heartily as he spoke. "Bah, that's so unpleasant to hear." "Absolutely not." Chu Ning refuted Chu Xiangnan. "Let the captain take it," Fang Xiaoran suddenly said. "Me? I can't do it." "Why don't you think about it, Yunjian?" Lu Shiyun hurriedly waved his hands. He kicked the ball of thinking of a team name to Yunjian. "Kings." Yunjian narrowed her eyes and said. "What?" The others were stunned. "Team Monarch, the unique and unique." Yunjian brushed away the hair that was covering her eyebrows and said. "That's a good name." Chu Ning suddenly laughed and clapped her hands. She was the first to agree. We'll choose this name then." Captain Lu Shiyun nodded. Since the captain had spoken, the others naturally had no objections. Team Monarch, the unique and unique. Like a king, they ruled the world and stood at the top of the world. Who could bully them? Kill without mercy. Yunjian pursed her lips. Chapter 377. Country A was Country Z's neighbor, bordering Country Z. However, due to the land route, it took them quite some time to reach Country Z. The mission this time was rather risky, which was why Gu Junjian had mentioned it before they came. However, no matter how risky the mission was, no one wanted to quit. Country A was a country at war, so its economy could not be compared to Country Z. Moreover, Country A's security was poor, so it was common for people to kill people with knives on the streets. Considering that there were more than 20 people in Team 3, Gu Junjian arranged for a large bus to take them all the way to Country A. The bus was 2 stories high, with seats on the upper floor and the lower floor. Chu Ning and the rest were fresh to them, so they walked up and down the bus quite a bit along the way. "This bus is so cool, it's 2 stories high. It's just like our house, it's like a moving house." Chu Ning jumped up and down, sitting beside Yunjian from time to time and exclaiming. Yunjian, on the other hand, sat obediently on the window seat on the second floor of the bus. She looked out of the window, pursing her red lips as if she was thinking about something. Because it was a big bus on the second floor, there were many seats. There were only about 20 people in total, so they sat in different places. In short, where there was no one sitting, one could sit anywhere. Yunjian and the other 7 members of Team Monarch sat separately on the upper and lower floors. Chu Ning walked up and down the stairs. She left the seat beside Yunjian and ran to the seat on the first floor. Yunjian only smiled, criticizing in her heart, "What a child who loves to walk." Due to the long journey, although country A was a neighboring country to country Z, it was no longer within country Z. Therefore, there was still a distance to travel from Zhe province through many provinces. Many of them had already closed their eyes to rest. After all, it was another test of life and death in country A. Every mission had its risks. Yun Jian closed her eyes and rested for a while. Yun Jian had just closed her eyes for less than 15 minutes when a loud noise came from the first floor of the bus. Yun Jian frowned and opened her beautiful eyes. However, she heard a thunderous roar from the first floor of the bus. F***CK, what are you so proud of? Aren't you newbies who just joined the army? What can you do? Yun Jian had just heard that when footsteps came from the stairs leading to the second floor. It was Chu Ning who rushed up to Yun Jian and told her anxiously, Yun Jian, go take a look. Chu Xiangnan is arguing with the other teams. The other teams were naturally the other two teams apart from Team Monarch. Yun Jian, naturally, she could not pretend that nothing had happened. She stood up and followed Chu Ning from the second floor to the first floor. The first floor was already in an uproar. In front of Chu Xiangnan, a man in his 20s or 30s was being held back by his companions. He was yelling at Chu Xiangnan, "You're just a bunch of newbies who just joined the team. Do you really think you're so important? Didn't you just complete a mission once?" The man's tone was not to be underestimated. The man had a rough appearance. Yun Jian could tell at a glance that the man who was yelling at Chu Xiangnan was a member of the other team. Chapter 378. Xiao Weiming was a member of another team called Champ Squad. At the same time, he was already 29 years old, nearing his 30s. Even though he was not particularly old, he had been in the special forces for quite a number of years. He had carried out quite a number of boss missions, but he had never been promoted. Xiao Weiming and Chu Xiangnan were at each other's throats, but Xiao Weiming's emotions were more intense than Chu Xiangnan's. If not for Xiao Weiming's teammates holding him back, he would probably have started fighting with Chu Xiangnan. "You called us rookies. What right do you have to say that?" Chu Xiangnan's voice sounded a little high-pitched. Unlike his usual cheeky self, Chu Xiangnan seemed to be defending his sovereignty as he retorted fearlessly at Xiao Weiming. "Are all the rookies nowadays as arrogant as Team Monarch? Do you think you can ride all over us old team members just because you've completed an outstanding mission? Let me tell you, brat. When we were majestic, you were still drinking milk in your mother's arms." Xiao Weiming raised his head and shouted at Chu Xiangnan, refusing to back down. "What's going on? What's going on?" Yun Jian had just gone down to the first floor when she saw Chu Xiangnan and Xiao Weiming shouting at each other. Before she could say anything, a strong voice came from behind her. A middle-aged man in his late 40s followed Yun Jian down the stairs from the second floor and spoke sternly. This stern and righteous middle-aged man was the captain of Champ Squad, Yu Fengqing. Once Yu Fengqing appeared, he had a strong presence. As soon as he spoke, Xiao Weiming, a member of Champ Squad under Yu Fengqing, immediately settled down. "Captain, this group of rookies is really cocky. They were bragging about their abilities just now. I just didn't like them and said a few words, and they yelled at me." Xiao Weiming complained to Yu Fengqing. Yu Fengqing was already in his 40s. He believed that he had plenty of experience, so when he swept his gaze over the crowd, he had a condescending attitude. Yu Fengqing didn't look at Xiao Weiming. Instead, he looked at Chu Xiangnan and raised his voice. "Where's your captain? Tell him to come out and talk to me." Yun Jian was standing beside Yu Fengqing. She glanced at Yu Fengqing from the corner of her eyes, and there was a hint of color in her eyes. But Yun Jian didn't say anything. "I'm the captain." Lu Shiyun pushed aside the crowd and walked out. "I don't care what your team members think, but when we're out on a mission, we must prioritize teamwork. You're all new recruits, so we veterans will give you some leeway in certain aspects. After all, you're still young and full of vigor," Yu Fengqing said without any hesitation. Yu Fengqing paused for a moment before continuing to speak to Lu Shiyun. In fact, his words were meant for all Team Monarch members. Young man, don't be complacent just because you've achieved something. There's always someone better than you. Don't forget that there's always someone better than you out there. With these few sentences, Yu Fengqing's meaning was very clear. He had obviously heard about the mission Yin Jian's team of 7 went on previously. Back then, Yin Jian's team of 7 carried out a very difficult mission, but they completed it in less than half a day. News of that had already spread among the special forces. Yu Fengqing's words were clearly aimed at Yin Jian's team, and he was sending them a very straightforward message. You may have some ability, but don't think too highly of yourself. Although Lu Shiyun was also a captain, he was at most in his 20s. In front of the experienced Yu Fengqing, he lacked some boldness. Therefore, Lu Shiyun hummed a sincere mm. All right, that's all. Disperse, disperse. Don't make such a big fuss over such a small matter in the future. Yu Fengqing said with a wave of his hand. As a result, the people who had gathered around also dispersed. Bah, you'd better remember this. Xiao Weiming spat at Chu Xiangnan and walked away. Chapter 379. Usually, when members quarreled with each other, their respective captains would step in to mediate. This time was no exception. Therefore, Yin Jian merely watched from the side without saying a word. By the time Yu Fengqing represented Champ Squad to speak to Team Monarch's captain, Lu Shiyun, the situation was more or less settled. Even if Yu Fengqing shared Xiao Weiming's dissatisfaction with Yun Jian's Team Monarch, he would only criticize Yun Jian and the rest in a tactful manner. He would not be like Xiao Weiming, who was stubbornly clashing with Chu Xiangnan in a fit of rage. Moreover, with Yu Fengqing's tone, the matter was resolved. When Xiao Weiming returned to his seat in a huff, Chu Ning ran over to help Chu Xiangnan, who was still fuming, to the second floor of the bus. They were separated from Xiao Weiming, who was still on the first floor. When they were on the way to the second floor, Chu Ning even called out to Yun Jian, you're here too. Yun Jian nodded and followed them to the second floor of the bus. When Yun Jian went upstairs, she heard Xiao Weiming's mocking laughter. Hee, look at those Team Monarch members. All of them have skinny arms and legs. I don't mean to say this, but they must have been lucky to complete the previous mission so smoothly. TSK, these newbies, what kind of quality do they have? His voice was fading in the end. By then, Yun Jian had returned to the second floor of the bus. This is pissing me off. Chu Xiangnan could not help but blurt out before he even sat down. What's going on? I was just admiring the scenery outside the window. Why did you guys start arguing? Chu Ning asked Chu Xiangnan with a frown. Yun Jian had already found an empty seat and sat behind Chu Xiangnan and Chu Ning. I was just bragging to Hong Dork about Team Monarch's dominance earlier. I'm just bragging about myself, and I'm not bothering anyone. In the end, that guy just couldn't stand me. It's fine that he scolded me, but he even called us Team Monarch rookies. He said that the missions we completed back then were all due to luck. I'm so pissed off. Chu Xiangnan spoke a long string of words, but at this time, his mood was extremely complicated. Looking at his expression, one could tell that Chu Xiangnan was really angry. Chu Ning stopped bickering with Chu Xiangnan and spoke up for Chu Xiangnan instead. All right, don't be angry. When we reach Country A, we'll try our best to snatch back the antiques before they do. When the time comes, we'll rely on our abilities to humiliate them. In fact, although Chu Ning and Chu Xiangnan were usually like enemies when they were together, scolding each other and teasing each other, they would always help each other when they encountered a problem. Yun Jian leaned her head lazily with both hands behind her back. She looked at the two people sitting in front of her and smiled with her eyes narrowed. Since there was nothing else for her to do, Yun Jian closed her eyes again and rested for a while. The exclusive two-story bus from Z country to a country didn't stop moving. The scenery outside the window changed again and again. Yun Jian sat in the bus and rested for a long time. The bus stopped moving at night. After all, it was not safe to drive at night, and the driver needed to rest as well. With that, when Yun Jian and the rest arrived in Country A, it was already 6 or 7 o'clock the next night. At night, Yun Jian and the rest rested on the bus seats, leaning against the seat. It was not good to sleep like that, so when they arrived in Country A, they immediately checked into a hotel. That was because the people in Country A did not speak Mandarin or English, but their own language. Therefore, when they entered the hotel, the three teams, more than 20 people, realized that there was a language barrier. Wanting to give it a try, Yu Fengqing scanned the crowd like the leader of the group and asked, "Who among you can speak Country A's language?" When Yu Fengqing scanned the group, he did not even look at Yun Jian and the rest. In his opinion, Yun Jian and the rest were new recruits who did not have any achievements. How could they know Country A's language? Chapter 380. Yu Fengqing glanced at his own champ squad, then looked at another member called Flying Dragon Squad and asked them a question. Yu Fengqing did not care about Yun Jian's team Monarch at all. He did not even look at them when he was questioning them. Hence, when Yun Jian's melodious voice rang out, it came from behind Yu Fengqing. Yu Fengqing was stunned. He turned around and stared at Yun Jian like everyone else in Champ Squad and Flying Dragons. He raised his brows in disbelief. "You know how to speak? Are you sure?" His tone was filled with disbelief. If it were anyone else, Yu Fengqing and the rest might have believed her. However, Yun Jian was the youngest among them. Could she really learn Country A's language at such a young age? Country A didn't speak English. Yun Jian did not care about the disbelief in Yu Fengqing and the rest's eyes. She walked to the front desk of the hotel and knocked on the table with her fingertips. Then, she looked at the Country A lady at the front desk and spoke in a language that was almost the same as a Country A person's. "Hello, beautiful lady. We have a total of 21 people. Please give us 7 rooms." Yun Jian and the rest had a total of 21 people. 7 rooms would be just right for 3 people each. Yun Jian, Chu Ning, and Jiang Weiwei were all girls. Hence, they could share a room. "All right, beautiful lady." The Country A lady at the front desk gave Yun Jian a beautiful smile and issued the room tickets. The moment Yun Jian spoke to the Country A lady, Yu Fengqing and the rest were completely stunned. Even if Yu Fengqing and the rest did not know Country A's language, they could tell that Yun Jian's accent was the same as the Country A lady at the front desk. Moreover, the Country A lady at the front desk even replied to Yun Jian. Obviously, she understood what Yun Jian meant. Yun Jian could really speak Country A's language. Yu Fengqing and the rest were stunned, especially Yu Fengqing. He watched as Yun Jian walked back with the receipt for the room. Once he thought of how he looked down on Yun Jian, his face darkened as though he had fallen into a cesspool. "You can check in now." Yun Jian waved the receipt and room key in her hand. Country A's hotel registration did not require complicated procedures. Moreover, Country A's security was not comprehensive. Hence, Yun Jian had already gotten the receipt and key after paying. The key was the hotel's key. However, due to the backward economy, it was different from China's. Due to Yun Jian's presence, everyone returned to their rooms swiftly. Once they were back in the hotel room, Chu Ning collapsed on the bed and chuckled at Yun Jian. "Heh, Yun Jian, you're really something." Just how ugly was the expression of the leader of the champ squad just now. "Humph, serves them right for looking down on us." Chu Ning and Chu Xiangnan were used to having their emotions written all over their faces. Yun Jian only smiled faintly. Knock knock knock. Just then, there was a knock on the door. "I'll go open the door." Jiang Weiwei had just put down her luggage when Chu Ning jumped up from the bed and ran to open the door barefooted. The door opened. The person standing outside was none other than the captain, Lu Shiyun. "Pack up. We'll gather in the lobby on the first floor. The 3 of us will discuss the plan together." Lu Shiyun was here to inform them. "Okay. Got it." Chu Ning gestured at Lu Shiyun. Yun Jian walked around the room. She did not take off her shoes. Hearing Lu Shiyun's words, she immediately followed him out. The lobby on the first floor was a place that this relatively high-end hotel provided for travelers to relax and chat. By the time Yun Jian, Chu Ning, and Jiang Weiwei went downstairs, Yu Fengcheng and the rest were already standing in the lobby. Tisk, women are so troublesome. Xiao Weiming felt that the matter was not big enough, so he shouted loudly. Chapter 381. Xiao Weiming's provocative words had no effect on Yun Jian. At the same time, Chu Xiangnan, Chu Ning, and the rest automatically blocked Xiao Weiming's words and ignored him. Xiao Weiming was directly ignored. He snorted, and in the end, he did not make a sound. All right. Everyone, quiet down. Yu Fengcheng acted as the leader of the three squads again. He slapped the coffee table in front of him and shouted. The moment Yu Fengcheng spoke, everyone quieted down. All three squads are here for the same mission, so we have to work together. Moreover, the target of this mission is the internationally renowned thief. Yu Fengcheng expressed his opinion. So you're saying that all three squads have to work together? Someone asked. Yu Fengcheng continued to express his opinion, and what he said seemed to make sense. Yes, all three squads will work together to catch that thief and get the item back. So during this period, I hope that all three squads can work together without any disputes and work together to complete the mission. That was Yu Fengcheng's opinion. What's more, Yu Fengcheng's words were reasonable. Even he was impressed by himself. Lu Shiyun frowned and didn't say anything. I don't agree. Just as the group of people were almost done with their discussion, a clear female voice rang out again, interrupting everyone. Yu Fengcheng's eyebrows twitched when he heard the voice. He turned to look for the source of the voice and saw Yun Jian standing in the same spot. She pursed her red lips and looked at everyone's gazes gradually falling on her. After a few seconds of silence, Yun Jian repeated, I don't agree. We have 3 squads with 21 people. If all 3 squads walk together, don't you think it's too conspicuous? It was like telling a thief who had stolen an antique that they were here to catch him. So I can't accept it. Yun Jian's words immediately attracted the rebuttal of everyone present. What we advocate is to work together. You're trying to be independent. Someone from the champ squad couldn't stand it anymore and shouted at Yun Jian. Perhaps it was because of Yun Jian's young age. Even though she spoke fluent Country Z's language, no one was convinced. That's right. Young lady, you're still too inexperienced. We've completed at least 100 missions. Which one of them wasn't done as a team? We're on a mission now. This isn't the time to let your tongue run wild. Yu Fengcheng had just suffered a setback. He wanted to poke Yun Jian's spirit, so he refuted Yun Jian with the tone of an elder. Yun Jian only chuckled. Especially when you said that he had completed at least 100 missions, he had almost laughed out loud. But she didn't laugh in the end, she turned to look at Lu and the others. And asked, what about you guys? Do you want to work with them or with me? Yun Jian ignored Yu Fengcheng, but her words were obvious. She was asking Lu Shiyun and the others if they wanted to complete the mission with her or follow Yu Fengcheng's arrangement and complete the mission with Yu Fengcheng and the others. Pfft, young lady, even a fool would know what to choose. You can either leave on your own or come with us. The person from Champ Squad who had spoken just now mocked Yun Jian again. Yu Fengcheng also raised his head high. From what he could see, Lu Shiyun and the others would definitely follow them. After all, Yun Jian was just a teenager who had yet to reach adulthood. Even if she was good, where could she go? But the team that Yu Fengcheng led was different. He had led his own team and completed countless missions. There was no way Lu Shiyun would take Team Monarch and leave with a brat like Yun Jian. Chapter 382. What? Yu Fengcheng thought that since Lu Shiyun was the leader of Team Monarch, Lu Shiyun would definitely choose to go with him. He did not expect Lu Shiyun to choose to go with Yun Jian instead. I'll go with Yun Jian too. Chu Ning said without hesitation after Lu Shiyun. Me too. Me too. Then, other than Lu Shiyun, the other 5 voices followed without hesitation. However, everyone's choice was the same. This included Jiang Weiwei, who was not at odds with Yun Jian in the beginning. She had chosen Yun Jian's side with a determined voice. You? Yu Fengqing was so angry that his hands trembled. He swallowed hard and looked at Yun Jian and the rest. Finally, he said, "Fine, you guys. I'm sincerely inviting you to cooperate with us because you're new to the game. But since you don't appreciate it, so be it. Young people, you're still young and hot-headed after all. Humph, you're on your own." Yu Fengqing waved his hand and left in a huff. However, Yu Fengqing still believed that what he said was right. At the same time, he planned to wipe his eyes and watch Yun Jian and the rest fail because he chose not to work with them today. Yun Jian did not expect Lu Shiyun and the rest to believe her so much. She only smiled and looked at them without saying a word. However, everything was wrapped up in her words. Once Yu Fengqing left, the 2 teams split up. However, it was certain that Yu Fengqing had convinced Flying Dragon Squad. The current situation was that Champ Squad and Flying Dragon Squad had started working together. After rejecting Yu Fengqing's invitation, Yun Jian, Chu Ning, and Jiang Weiwei gathered in Lu Shiyun's room at night. The 7 of them began to discuss the plan. Coincidentally, while they were discussing the plan, Yun Jian received a message from Gu Junjian. The message on the phone was very simple, but it was a very useful message because there was a clue written on it. The thief who stole the antique was last seen at Tiandi Canyon in Country A's F City. The Tiandi Canyon was a famous scenic spot in Country A. In the canyon, there were dozens of kilometers of land. Looking from afar, other than large rocks, there was not a single blade of grass. Moreover, the canyon was uneven, winding, and steep. F***ck, why would the thief go to such a place after stealing the antique? After reading the message, Chu Xiangnan could not help cursing under his breath. Probably because he has nothing better to do, haha. Chu Ning laughed. Tiandi Canyon, Yun stood up and looked at the group. It will take 2 hours. We'll leave tomorrow morning. We'll rest and rest. We'll sleep from now on, we'll wake up at 4 tomorrow morning. Yun stood up, looked at the group and spoke. 4 o'clock. Oh my god. Chu Xiangnan complained. We sleep. Yun Jian and the other 2 returned to their rooms. Yun Jian could sleep at any time and Jiang Weiwei could adjust her sleeping time. Chu Ning, on the other hand, rolled around for a while before falling asleep. The next morning, there was no light at all. It was so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. Chu Ning was dragged out of bed by Yun Jian. Other than Yun Jian, the rest were still sleepy. However, with Yun Jian leading the group, they quickly went to the nearest bus station and boarded the earliest bus to F City. It was already 6 o'clock when Yu Fengqing and the rest woke up. He thought about it and decided to look for Yun Jian. Yun Jian was the only one among them who could speak Country A's language. When Yu Fengqing knocked on Yun Jian and the rest's door, he was stunned to find that the room was empty. However, Yu Fengqing and the rest knew that Yun Jian and the rest must have gone to F City first. Chapter 383. When Yu Fengqing and the rest boarded the bus to Tiandi Canyon in F City, Yun Jian and the rest had already alighted. The Tiandi Canyon in F City was actually a scenic spot in Country A. Within the Tiandi Canyon, there was no dense vegetation within a 100-mile radius. Even if there was, it was scattered across a vast area. In short, it was basically impossible to see a dense forest in the Tiandi Canyon. Although the Tiandi Canyon was a scenic spot, there were not many people. Moreover, the scenic spot was free to enter and exit, so there was no need to buy a ticket to enter. Due to the vastness of the Tiandi Canyon, if a person were to walk in, they would not be able to walk out even after a few days. Therefore, Yun Jian and the rest negotiated and rented a jeep from a car rental agency. The rental car was not expensive as Gu Junjian had given them quite a bit of Country A's currency before the mission. Moreover, Yun Jian knew Country A's language, so they were able to rent a car very quickly. The jeep was quite big, so the 7 of them could barely squeeze into it. Fang Xiaoran was driving and his driving skills were not bad. Moreover, in such a vast Tiandi canyon, there was no need to drive very fast if they were to drive aimlessly. Yun Jian, what should we do next? Even if that master thief is here, this place is so vast. If we keep searching aimlessly, it'll be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Lu Shiyun turned to ask Yun Jian out of habit. Although Lu Shiyun was the captain of Team Monarch, he had unknowingly treated Yun Jian as the core and would always ask for her opinion whenever something happened. The other members also unknowingly treated Yun Jian as the core, so Lu Shiyun as the captain and Hong Fan as the vice captain were just decorations. Head south, Yun Jian turned to look out of the window, pursing her red lips as she said, head south. Fang Xiaoran was still driving the jeep. When he heard Yun Jian's words, he immediately turned the steering wheel and headed south. Yun Jian, why are we heading south? Just as Lu Shiyun was about to speak, Chu Ning, who had nothing to do along the way, snatched the opportunity to speak. Chu Ning took the initiative to ask the question that was on everyone's mind. This heaven and earth Grand Canyon extended in all directions, and it was a rocky mountain range that stretched as far as the eye could see. When the car drove on the road, it was also undulating. Sometimes, it would even pass through 2 mountains. Fortunately, they had brought a compass, so they could distinguish north from south. However, everyone had a question: why did they head south? Even Gu Junjian and the others could not find out where the thief was in the Tiandi Canyon. They only knew that the thief was last seen here. How could Yun Jian be so sure that the thief master had gone south? Although everyone was suspicious, even if they had taken the wrong path, they still had to follow Yun Jian. Yun Jian reached into the pocket of her newly bought long-down jacket and took out a map with a label and a very detailed introduction. She passed the map to Chu Ning, who was sitting beside her, and said to the rest, I got this from the car rental place. It's a panoramic map of the Tiandi Canyon. Head south and there's a water source in the south. A water source means that there must be people living there. If we head in other directions, forget about a water source, we'll enter a desert area. Even if the thief wants to hide from us, can he avoid a water source? Can he not eat? Therefore, the south must be the path he must take. Chapter 384. After listening to Yun Jian's analysis, everyone felt that they had gained a lot of knowledge. There were indeed many maps of the nearby scenic spots in the car rental store, but apart from Yun Jian, no one else would bother to understand them. At the same time, no one would think of getting a map to look at. The map was actually universal. Although Lu Shiyun and the rest couldn't understand the words on it, they could still distinguish the coordinates on it. Moreover, most maps were in English. As for Yun Jian, the moment she arrived at the car rental store, she took a map and understood the terrain. She also knew how to analyze the terrain and finally came to a conclusion. Actually, there were many things that no one could tell you the answer to, but you could find the answer from the environment. For example, that master thief. Unless he was courting death, he would go in the direction of human tracks. Without a doubt, the direction with human tracks was the south. Because it could be seen from the map that apart from the south, if one went in any other direction, they would end up in a boundless desert. Since we know the direction, Fang Xiaoran, speed up the car. Chu Xiangnan also happily stepped forward and interjected. No need. Yun Jian immediately retorted Chu Xiangnan. She pursed her red lips and continued, drive slowly, don't be anxious. We don't have to alert the enemy. In the eyes of that master thief, we are just a group of tourists who came to the Tiandi Grand Canyon for a vacation. After saying that, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. However, everyone understood what she meant. She meant that before confirming who the master thief was, everyone should pretend that they were just a group of students who came to the Tiandi Grand Canyon for a vacation. Fang Xiaoran drove the jeep at a very slow speed. After driving for about an hour, Yunjian looked at the scenery outside the window and suddenly saw that it had changed. It was no longer a barren wasteland or a large piece of rock. Instead, there was a small upstream river, and on the other side of the river was a large village. Everyone was delighted. Fang Xiaoran didn't turn his head but asked Yunjian, are we going into the village? Yes, let's find a place to rest and stay for the night. Yunjian nodded. Thus, the group entered the village. The men in Country A were used to wearing a headscarf on their heads, while the women used a headscarf that covered their entire head except for their facial features. This was the custom of Country A. Yunjian and the others got off the car, and Yunjian went to the village head to seek shelter. The village chief and the villagers expressed a strong welcome to the guests from afar. In the end, the village chief divided Yunjian and the others into 4 groups and arranged them to live in 4 different households in the village. Yunjian was arranged to live alone in a seemingly poor family. This family was very hospitable. The hostess was in her 40s and her name was Adia. Adia had a daughter who was 2 years younger than Yunjian. Her name was Maiboba. Adia's husband had already passed away, so Adia had to raise her child Maiboba alone. Life was very difficult for her. In spite of it, Adia expressed the strongest welcome to Yunjian, an outsider. In less than half a day, Adia's daughter, Maiboba, had already become familiar with Yunjian. In addition, there was no language barrier between Yunjian and the people in Country A, so Maiboba seemed to like her sister very much. Maiboba shook Yunjian's hand and looked at Yunjian expectantly. Big sister, can you accompany me to the river to catch fish? Yunjian also liked this little sister who was 2 years younger than her. She nodded and followed Maiboba to the river in the village. There were already many children of Maiboba's age standing by the river. All the children were catching fish in the most primitive way, holding a long, sharpened bamboo pole, standing in the shallow and clear river, looking at the fish swimming back and forth, and directly poking them with the bamboo pole. Maiboba had just taken Yunjian's hand to the river when they were surrounded by a group of careless boys. Chapter 385. Because she didn't have a father, she had been bullied by these naughty children since she was a child. Originally, Maiboba had been bullied to the point of numbness, but in front of Yunjian, the elder sister she had just met, she was surrounded and mocked. Maiboba's face immediately turned pale. We're just here to slack off, don't be like this. Maiboba's face was pale. She was afraid that Yunjian would ignore her because she was bullied by these boys, so she looked at the group of boys around her with pleading eyes and said. Yunjian's eyes flashed. Maiboba had been bullied since she was a child. Because she didn't have a father, the naughty children around her had always made fun of her and even made up poems about her life experience. Maiboba was not as alone as she was now when she was a child. She used to have friends. But later, her friends were scared away by these boys and were no longer willing to play with her. When Yunjian moved into Maiboba's house, Maiboba was half surprised and half happy. Especially when Yunjian didn't refuse to make friends with her, Maiboba's heart was overflowing with joy. But now, the actions of these boys made Maiboba afraid. She was afraid that because of these boys, the elder sister she had just met would not be willing to make friends with her. Slack off? Huh, with just the 2 of you? At this time, a heavy sarcastic voice suddenly came. A 16 or 17-year-old boy with a dark complexion but a decent appearance pushed the crowd aside and stood in front of Maiboba and Yunjian. This 16 or 17-year-old youth seemed to be the king of this group of boys, because when this youth appeared, the other boys all cheered and made way for him. Jiliheng. Maiboba looked at the 16 or 17-year-old boy with some fear and couldn't help exclaiming. The boy called Jiliheng stretched out his hand, raised his head, hooked Yunjian with his finger, and then said arrogantly, I heard that you're a foreigner and Maiboba's new friend? Huh? How dare you be friends with Maiboba without my consent? Jiliheng's tone was very tough. That feeling of, I am the master, made Yunjian narrow her eyes. Why not? Yunjian raised her eyebrows. She narrowed her eyes and replied in fluent Country Z, Big sister, don't. Let's go. He's Jilihang, the overlord of our village. No one can challenge his dignity. Let's go. My boba tugged at Yunjian's clothes and said with some fear. Yunjian lowered her eyes and retracted her gaze. She did not intend to be nosy. She was here to carry out a mission. That godly thief could be around at any time. If she let her guard down, or if she showed off her skills, wouldn't she be luring the snake out of its hole? Just as Yunjian and my boba turned around and took 2 steps, Jilihang's voice came from behind again. Hey, are you really leaving? However, Yunjian ignored him. Jilihang was anxious. It was rare for him to meet a girl who was not afraid of him mentally. Purely out of curiosity, he wanted to stop Yunjian. However, seeing that she did not move at all, Jilihang shouted again, Stop, stop, stop. Let's have a fishing competition. Let's see who can catch more fish in 10 minutes. If you win, I won't bully my boba anymore. How about it? And I promise that no one will bully her in the future. Really? Yunjian heard Jilihang's words and instantly paused. She turned around and asked. Of course, I, Jilihang, am a man. I never go back on my words. Jilihang patted his belly and promised. Then let's begin. Yunjian's speed of change was unpredictable. Jilihang was also slightly stunned. However, when he thought that she was just a girl younger than him, he did not think much of it. Therefore, Jilihang immediately asked someone to bring 2 bamboo poles. He and Yunjian each took a bamboo pole. When Lu Shiyun and the others met at their respective residences and walked across the river to find Yunjian, they happened to see Yunjian holding a bamboo pole and preparing to compete with Jilihang in fishing. Chapter 386. Yunjian was not disturbed by the appearance of Lu Shiyun and Chu Xiangnan at all. At this time, she was already standing in the stream with Jilihang. Most streams in winter were bitterly cold, but strangely, the spring water of this stream did not make people feel cold at all. On the contrary, people standing in the stream would feel warm. It's starting, Jilihang said to Yunjian with a bamboo pole in his hand, glancing at her. Okay. Yunjian nodded. She narrowed her eyes and nodded to Jilihang with a bamboo pole that was sharp enough to stab a fish to death. Yunjian, come on. Chu Ning and the others could not understand the shouts of the group of country people, but Chu Ning waved at Yunjian and cheered for her. Yunjian kept her eyes squinted, staring at the bamboo pole in her hand. Big sister, come on. My boba also looked at Yunjian gratefully. At the same time, she also raised her voice and shouted for Yunjian in her Mandarin. Ha! Jilihang suddenly chuckled. A wicked smile that did not match his age climbed up the corners of his lips. Chi! Jilihang stabbed the bamboo pole in his hand into the stream and stabbed a small fish that was swimming freely. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and also stabbed the bamboo pole in her hand into the stream. It missed? Ha ha ha. It missed. Jilihang's group of friends chuckled at Yunjian. Yunjian's stab with the bamboo pole missed. Chu Ning and the others were also disappointed for a while. Yunjian was not in a hurry. She lowered her head and did not show any expression. Hee hee. Jilihang also laughed. He laughed even more presumptuously, and at the same time, he stabbed the bamboo pole in the stream several times in a row. Chi, 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 chi. 5 consecutive stabs, a fish appeared on the bamboo pole in Jilihang's hand. It could be said that Jilihang had never missed. He then looked at Yunjian. She had also stabbed him a few times, but she didn't even manage to hit him once. Jilihang's group of friends became even more excited. They began to shout arrogantly, Jilihang! 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 What's wrong with Yunjian? Chu Xiangnan also frowned. He was a little disappointed that Yunjian did not live up to his expectations. He looked as if he could not wait to replace Yunjian and win. Shut up. Jiang Weiwei, who had been silent all this while, suddenly kicked Chu Xiangnan and growled at Chu Xiangnan. The others were also frightened by Jiang Weiwei's serious appearance, but they all frowned, not knowing what she was talking about. Jiang Weiwei furrowed her brows. She silently looked at Yun Jian, who seemed to be using all her strength to use the bamboo pole to prick the fish, but was unable to do so. She did it on purpose. But why? Not long after, the bamboo pole in Ji Jiheng's hand was full of fish. Ji Jiheng had already reached a new level of fishing. He was standing with his back facing Yun Jian. Another fish was successfully harvested by him. Yun Jian suddenly narrowed her eyes. She took out the butterfly knife from her pocket when Ji Jiheng completely let down his guard. She had already moved behind Ji Jiheng in a flash. She lifted her leg and kicked Ji Jiheng's back, sending him flying to the shore. At the same time, as everyone watched this sudden change in horror, Yun Jian had already arrived in front of Ji Jiheng. The butterfly knife in her hand did not wait for Ji Jiheng to react. She placed it on Ji Jiheng's neck. Outsider, what are you doing? You can't win the fishing competition. What are you doing to Ji Jiheng? The group of boys immediately shouted. Chu Xiangnan and the others were also confused. Yun Jian, what are you doing? Even if you lose, just admit defeat. It's not like you can't afford to lose. Chu Xiangnan even opened his mouth and said. Yun Jian ignored everyone. She maintained her original posture and narrowed her eyes. The butterfly knife in her hand was even closer to Ji Jiheng's neck. Do you think I can't recognize you just because you've disguised yourself? Our famous thief god, Mr. Peter. Yun Jian looked at Ji Jiheng and said with a smile. Chapter 387. Yun Jian spoke in Chinese, so other than Chu Xiangnan and the others who were completely shocked, the group of boys from a country, including my boba, could not understand. However, this did not include Jiliheng, who was lying on the ground, who was also the thief Peter. After being recognized, Peter stopped pretending. He was not angry, nor did he fly into a rage because Yun Jian saw through him. Instead, he reached out to push away the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand and stood up. Needless to say, after being recognized, Peter was really shocked for a while. When he disguised himself as Jiliheng, even Jiliheng's mother could not recognize him. How could he be recognized by this young girl who was not even 18 yet? Who are you? Since he stopped pretending, Peter reached out to pull off the human skin mask on his face. He looked at Yun Jian and asked. Under the mask was a face that was completely different from Jiliheng's. The face under the mask looked to be in his 20s. His skin was very tender, and there was a trace of handsomeness between his eyebrows. His nose was tall and straight, and he looked a bit like a mixed-race person. Yun Jian did not threaten him with the butterfly knife. She narrowed her eyes and smiled as she shouted at Peter, your ancestor. F***ck, don't tell me your. Peter heard Yun Jian's familiar words. He could not help but jump and shout while pointing at Yun Jian. The only person who could stand in front of him and call him his ancestor was that terrifying woman. Peter looked at Yun Jian in a daze. He gestured at Yun Jian and asked in surprise, why do you look completely different? Take a guess. Yun Jian crossed her arms. She did not look at Peter. Instead, she curved her red lips and smiled slightly. She did not recognize him at first, but in her eyes, Peter's disguise as Jiliheng was too flawed. First of all, she could see from Peter's face that there were creases on his face and around his ears. As for Peter's identity, first of all, he stole the antiques. Stealing antiques that were heavily guarded in Jia province was not a simple matter. At the very least, that was something only a world-class thief could do. Back then, Yun Jian knew a world-class thief who was good at stealing, Peter. Another characteristic of Peter was that he loved to play. Just like just now, once Peter started playing the game of fishing, he couldn't stop. And Yun Jian took advantage of Peter's loss of vigilance to make her move. While Pete and Yun Jian were chatting happily and acknowledging each other, the boys around them were so frightened that they ran home crying for their mothers when they saw Pete, who suddenly tore off his human skin mask and changed his face. Lu Shiyun, Chu Xiangnan, and the others were completely dumbfounded. All of them had heard Yun Jian calling Pete thief god just now. This meant that Peter, who had suddenly changed his face, was the thief they had been looking for. But looking at the situation, could it be that Yun Jian knew him? Everyone was panic-stricken, but no one said anything. In fact, Yun Jian and Peter did know each other. That was something that happened in Yun Jian's previous life. This Peter was actually a world-famous thief. It was said that he had never failed to steal anything. But in fact, he had failed once. The reason was that the thing that Peter wanted to steal was also the target of Yun Jian's mission. Later on, the two of them met, and Yun Jian won directly by force. Before Yun Jian took the thing and ran away, Peter shouted at her, "Who the hell are you? How dare you steal from me? Your ancestor." Yun Jian replied with this sentence. In general, Peter's skills were not bad, but it was the first time he lost to a woman. So, he had a deep impression of Yun Jian. However, Peter didn't know about Yun Jian's other identities. He only knew that this woman, Yun Jian, was really terrible. The thing that he had stolen was clearly in his hands, but in the end, it was snatched away by Yun Jian. Chapter 388. Aya, my great-aunt, no wonder my eyelids have been twitching since this morning. Why did you come back to look for me? Oh my God. Don't tell me you want to take away the treasure that I worked so hard to steal again? Returning to reality, Peter clutched his chest exaggeratedly. He looked at Yun Jian as if he was looking at the devil and shouted at her. Lu Shiyun and the others were even more surprised when they saw this. Judging from Yun Jian and Peter's words and actions, they seemed to be very familiar with each other. However, Yun Jian pursed her red lips and smiled slightly. Then, she reached out her hand. You guessed right. Hand it over obediently. Peter retracted his hand and made a face as if he was about to die. Then, he clutched his pocket tightly. Are you really going to take it away? There's no room for negotiation? No. Yun Jian's deep eyes flashed. She opened her mouth and didn't allow for any rebuttal. All right then. Peter could only reach out his hand and rummage through his pocket. Then, he reluctantly took out an emerald jade pendant and handed it to Yun Jian unwillingly. This emerald jade pendant was the one that was lost in the Zhe Province Museum. Before they came, Gu Junjian had shown Yun Jian and the others a photo of the lost antique. It was this emerald jade pendant. Although it was just a jade pendant, this jade pendant was actually an ancient relic left behind by a famous scholar in the Tang dynasty. It had been quite a few years since then. Naturally, it was worth a lot. Just like that, the mission is completed? Chu Xiangnan and the others stood where they were. They watched as Peter obediently handed the jade pendant to Yun Jian without any resistance. All of them turned pale with fright. After all, Peter was an internationally renowned thief, wasn't he? He actually handed the antique jade pendant to Yun Jian just like that? This meant that the mission was successfully completed. Wasn't this mission supposed to be quite dangerous? Why did the thief obediently hand over the item as soon as Yun Jian showed up? Who exactly was Yun Jian? However, if Peter heard Chu Xiangnan and the others silently criticizing him for handing over the antique jade pendant to Yun Jian, he would be in deep trouble. Peter would definitely put his hands on his hips and shout at Chu Xiangnan and the others. When he fought with Yun Jian, both his arms were broken by Yun Jian. If Peter hadn't dodged quickly, his entire body would have been broken by Yun Jian. Peter swore that he would never meet such a terrifying woman again in his life. But this time, it was such a coincidence. All right, you can go now, Yun Jian said with a grin, looking at Pete. Peter wanted to cry but had no tears. He quickly packed up his things and ran away. His speed was even faster than a car. After Peter left, he wasn't a bad person. It didn't take long for him to release the real Geely Hunter. The real Jilihang had tasted the feeling of being bullied by Peter. From then on, he repented and no longer bullied my Boba and her group of weaklings. Yun Jian and the others stayed the night under the warm hospitality of the villagers. The next day, Fang Xiaoran drove the jeep and left. My Boba sent Yun Jian and the others all the way to the entrance of the village until Yun Jian and the others could no longer be seen. This encounter was like a fleeting moment in life. Once they parted, it would be forever. After leaving the village, they returned along the same path. As soon as they returned to the crowded flat ground, they met Yu Fengcheng and the others who were still searching around the canyon but to no avail. How dare you leave without saying a word? Do you know what kind of behavior this is? This is abandoning your companions and selfish behavior. What kind of future do you think you can have? You still want to rely on your own abilities to complete the mission. I think you're dreaming. Due to the language barrier, Yu Fengcheng and the others couldn't even rent a car. They had been walking since yesterday morning and were extremely tired. When he saw Yun Jian and the others, Yu Fengcheng rushed up and scolded them like an elder. In reality, he was resentful that Yun Jian knew Country A's language but didn't team up with them. Chapter 389. Pack up what team? Return to the country? Wait a minute, mission completed? Yu Fengcheng was about to yell at Yun Jian but after a few words, he caught what Yun Jian meant and held his tongue. In the next second, he was overwhelmed by shock. From Yu Fengcheng's perspective, no matter how capable Yun Jian was, there was no way she could lead Team Monarch to complete the mission successfully. Yu Fengcheng was not the only one who thought so. Everyone in the Champ Squad and Flying Dragon Squad shared the same thought. The difficulty of this mission was highly valued by their superiors. The importance Gu Junjian placed on this mission could be seen from the fact that he deployed the 3 best squads in the military to complete the mission together. There was no doubt that even if the Champ Squad and the Flying Dragon Squad joined forces, they still couldn't find the slightest trace of the godly thief who had stolen the antique. How long had it been? Yun Jian said that Team Monarch had completed the mission. Little girl, are you kidding? A rough-looking man from the Champ Squad asked Yun Jian arrogantly. The tone of this person's voice was filled with an air of complete disbelief. Ha! I think this bunch of newbies from Team Monarch have never learned anything except to brag. If the mission this time was so easy, why did Officer Gu send us 3 squads to complete it? To play monkeys? Xiao Weiming had a fight with Chu Xiangnan early in the morning, so he was now unhappy with the rest of Team Monarch. Yu Fengcheng thought the same when he heard what his own squad members said. Young people, it's good that you have a heart that's eager for success, but everything has to be done according to the facts. The mission this time isn't so easy. I saw that you guys went into the Tiandi Canyon and didn't find anything. I've said it before, we have to work together and work together. Yu Fengcheng's long-winded words came one after another. However, Yu Fengcheng and the others' intentions were clear. As for Yun Jian's claim that Team Monarch had found the antique, they remained unconvinced. Hey, you guys. When Chu Xiangnan heard this, he was also anxious. He opened his mouth to say something, but was stopped by Yun Jian. Since you want to enter the Heaven and Earth Grand Canyon, then go ahead. We won't accompany you. Yun Jian only said this one sentence before she led everyone away. The attitude of Yu Fengcheng and his group disgusted Yun Jian, so she didn't even intend to say anything more. She directly called for Lu Shiyun and the others to leave with her. Seeing Yun Jian and the rest leave, Yu Fengcheng stomped his feet in anger. He even shouted at Yun Jian and the rest. Young and hot-blooded. Not knowing what's good for him. Since that's the case, we'll leave on our own. Yu Fengcheng cursed in a low voice before leading his group into the Tiandi Grand Canyon. Yun Jian and her friends went back on their own and took the bus back. It was a long and bumpy ride before they finally made it back to Longmen City. After passing the jade pendant to Gu Junjian, it was announced that the mission was successfully completed once again. Gu Junjian was utterly shocked. He did not expect Yun Jian and the others to return so soon. When he kept the jade pendant, He looked at Yun Jian blankly and asked, "The mission is completed? What about the other 2 squads?" "They don't believe me, so they're still in country A," Yun Jian said to Gu Junjian with narrowed eyes. After a beat, Gu Junjian pressed his lips together, unable to say anything in the end. At this moment, Gu Junjian was deeply aware of something. Whether it was Team Monarch's mission completion time last time or this time, it was telling Gu Junjian that Team Monarch had a bright future ahead of them. Yun Jian's future achievements were definitely not something a mere special forces team could hold back. Yu Fengsheng and the rest, on the other hand, had searched for half a month in the Tiandi Grand Canyon and turned the entire country A upside down, but they could not find any trace of Peter the Godly Thief. It was only when Gu Junjian sent someone to bring them back that he told them that Yun Jian had already brought the antique jade pendant back half a month ago. Yu Fengsheng and the rest nearly vomited blood from anger. Chapter 390. Initially, she thought that Yun Jian and the rest would be away for at least 10 days to half a month, and they might not even be able to make it back for the new year. However, her daughter was home in less than 2 days. Naturally, Qin Yiru breathed a sigh of relief. After all, going on a mission was risky. It was just the start of winter break, and there was still some time before the new year. The next evening, Qin Yiru went to the mall to buy some New Year goods after work. Qin Yiru had some savings now. Ever since she started working at New Cruise, the family was never short of money. Therefore, Qin Yiru bought more when she went shopping for New Year's goods. "Mom, I won't be having dinner at home today. You don't have to prepare a bowl and chopsticks for me," Yun Jian told Qin Yiru. She stood in front of the door, put on a pair of white shoes and wrapped a scarf around her neck, and turned to pull the door open. Sure. Qin Yiru agreed. Yun Jian pulled the door open, braving the bone-chilling wind outside and walked out. Today, she wore a long down jacket that was long enough to cover her knees. She tied her hair into a high ponytail and wrapped the rest of her body in a scarf. Her lower body was a little simple. She only wore a pair of long johns, which was quite warm. After completing the mission yesterday, to celebrate, Chu Xiangnan was the host. He invited all the members of Team Monarch and planned to treat them to dinner. After dinner, they even planned to go to karaoke. Their identity as special forces aside, Chu Xiangnan was actually a rich young master from a big family, and his family was extremely wealthy. Since he did not lack money since he was young, Chu Xiangnan was used to living a life of having everything taken care of. He was usually generous. In fact, Chu Xiangnan was the weakest in Team Monarch. As for why he was chosen, it was because Chu Xiangnan was forced into it by his father. He said that he wanted him to suffer in the army so that he could change his arrogance. Before entering the special forces, Chu Xiangnan was a typical rebellious teenager. He hung out with a bunch of bad friends all day long and often didn't return home at night. Therefore, in a fit of anger, Chu Xiangnan's father used his connections to get him into the special forces. He even told him that if he dared to go home without learning some skills, he would break his legs. It was Chu Xiangnan himself who told these things to everyone as if it was a joke. Yun Jian braved the cold wind and walked out of the house. She turned a few corners and came to the entrance of an alley. At the entrance of the alley, Chu Xiangnan and the others were already stomping their feet as they waited for Yun Jian. Seeing Yun Jian walking over, Chu Xiangnan quickly waved and said, "Yun Jian, you just came. Quick, quick, quick. Here, hurry up, I'm freezing." Yun Jian followed Chu Xiangnan and the others. "I'll treat you guys to a feast today. Hee hee." Chu Xiangnan blew on the warm air and said to Yun Jian and the others, "Don't give me that. What time is it? Hurry up, I'm starving." Chu Ning jumped up and slapped Chu Xiangnan's head. She ordered Chu Xiangnan in a domineering tone. Okay, let's go." Chu Xiangnan took the lead and led everyone to the location of the feast. Yun Jian walked at the back. She pursed her lips, and her delicate little face was already red from the cold. The feast that Chu Xiangnan mentioned was a newly opened hotel. It didn't have a star rating, but the prices of the food inside were very expensive. This hotel was opened by a foreign country, and the owner was a foreigner. Chu Xiangnan brought Yun Jian and the others into the hotel. The lights at the main entrance of the hotel flickered, and a huge chandelier hung above. There were guests at all the tables on the first floor, and it looked like all the tables had been booked. It looked like someone was holding a banquet. Therefore, Chu Xiangnan planned to lead Yun Jian and the others directly to the second floor. Chapter 391. When Yun Jian heard the familiar voice that she had not heard for a long time, she turned around abruptly and saw Mayor Gu's smiling, mature face. Yun Jian nodded. Mayor Gu was pleasantly surprised to see Yun Jian here. He glanced at Yun Jian before an equally surprised voice rang out. Uncle Gu? This shout came from Chu Xiangnan. At this moment, Chu Xiangnan was looking at Mayor Gu in shock. He was already standing at the top of the stairs, looking at Mayor Gu with his head tilted sideways in surprise. Mayor Gu glanced at Yun Jian before looking at Chu Xiangnan and the others behind Yun Jian. He asked Yun Jian, "Do you know each other?" "Yes." "Uncle Gu, what are you doing here today?" Chu Xiangnan nodded to indicate that he indeed knew Yun Jian before he asked Mayor Gu a question. "I have a dinner appointment here, so I came over," Mayor Gu replied Chu Xiangnan in a friendly manner. Mayor Gu and Chu Xiangnan knew each other because Chu Xiangnan's father was Mayor Gu's sworn brother. "Xiangnan, I didn't expect you to know this little girl too." "Huh, I don't want to boast, but it's your good fortune to be able to hang out with this little girl." Mayor Gu praised him deeply the moment he opened his mouth. When they heard Mayor Gu praising this little girl, the group of people who were busy flattering Mayor Gu turned to look at them. "You flatter me." Yun Jian was not shy in front of everyone. She merely narrowed her eyes slightly before she replied. "Little girl, I think you're here for dinner too, right? We still have an empty table here. If you don't mind, why don't you join us?" Mayor Gu looked at Yun Jian and the others and invited them over. Sure. Come, let's join us." Before Yun Jian and the others could say anything, Chu Xiangnan hurriedly pushed them over. Hence, the group of people gathered around a table of food and wine on the first floor and sat down one by one. It was actually a big boss who was treating Mayor Gu to this meal. Since the big boss had a favor to ask of him, Mayor Gu did not hold himself back and invited Yun Jian and the rest of them on his own accord. There were over 20 tables of food on the first floor. The big boss had invited them to dinner today because his daughter had given birth to a 1-year-old son. Using this as an excuse, the big boss invited all his relatives to dinner. At the same time, he did not forget to use this opportunity to build connections and invite Mayor Gu as well. As all the people present were relatives of the big boss, some of the big boss relatives were unhappy with the sudden addition of Yun Jian and the others at the same table. After Mayor Gu invited Yun Jian and the others to the dinner, he was busy dealing with the toasts from the various people. Yun Jian and the others sat around a table. The table next to them was filled with young boys and girls of the same age as Yun Jian and the others. It was probably arranged by the adults on purpose for the children to sit around a table by themselves. Ever since Yun Jian and the others sat down, the young boys and girls beside them kept sizing up Yun Jian and the others and whispering to each other from time to time. Finally, a boy of about 17 or 18 years old at the next table stood up and walked over to Yun Jian. "Hey, how old are you?" The boy walked over to Yun Jian and spoke to her in an arrogant tone. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and ignored him. It was obvious that this boy was here to cause trouble. More importantly, she saw a familiar figure among the group of boys and girls at the table. It was a very familiar figure. Because she had met her for the first time after her rebirth, Yun Jian still could not forget her. That person was Lin Mengyu. She was also the culprit who killed the original owner of this body. When Yun Jian walked over just now, she had already felt a burning gaze staring at her. She pretended not to see it. However, she had already noticed that the burning gaze that was sizing her up was avoiding her, not wanting her to notice her. Chapter 392. The one hiding behind the group of teenagers was indeed Lin Mengyu, who had caused the death of the original owner of the body. The big boss who was treating them was actually Lin Mengyu's relative. Ever since Lin Mengyu was severely injured by Yun Jian, she had asked her father to fire Yun Jian but was slapped by her father instead because Yun Jian had said something that made no sense. She then picked up a pen to stab Yun Jian in a fit of madness, only to be kicked away and relapse from her injury. Even her boyfriend, whom she had been longing for, Yuan Ingjun, had broken up with her because of Yun Jian. Lin Mengyu was utterly terrified of Yun Jian. Later, Lin Mengyu was hospitalized again due to relapse from her injury. By the time she came back with the intention of taking revenge on Yun Jian had already transferred to Longmen City. Today was Lin Mengyu's relative's wedding and the banquet was held in Longmen City's best hotel, so Lin Mengyu insisted on tagging along. Not long after she sat down, however, she saw Yun Jian and her friends coming in as well. Panicking, she hid quickly, thinking that Yun Jian and the others would go up immediately. She did not expect to be stopped by Mayor Gu and arranged to sit beside her table. Lin Mengyu suddenly remembered that her companions sitting around her were all capable people. She had wanted to seek revenge from her relative, but Yun Jian happened to come knocking on her door. Was Yun Jian not courting death? Hence, Lin Mengyu quietly called for the boy just now and told him to strike up a conversation with Yun Jian. It would be best if he could seduce Yun Jian and ask her out. Then, she could get someone to beat her up. Lin Mengyu hid behind her friend and was thankful that Yun Jian did not notice her. Little did she know that Yun Jian had already noticed her. The boy who stood in front of Yun Jian and wanted to strike up a conversation with Yun Jian was called Zhou Yuhao. Zhou Yuhao walked closer to Yun Jian and realized that she was very beautiful, so he couldn't help but gasp. He had come over to strike up a conversation with Yun Jian purely because of Lin Mengyu's request. Now that he had a clear view of Yun Jian's face, however, he had other thoughts. However, Yun Jian ignored him. Zhou Yuhao pursed his lips and moved closer to Yun Jian. However, he was stopped by Chu Xiangnan. However, Zhou Yuhao was not annoyed. He looked at Yun Jian with a smile and continued to strike up a conversation. "Beauty, I don't mean any harm. I just want to take you out for a walk after dinner." It was obvious that Zhou Yuhao did not have good intentions when he tried to strike up a conversation with her. No. We're going to sing karaoke later." Chu Xiangnan stopped Zhou Yuhao from getting close to Yun Jian. He even helped Yun Jian to wave Zhou Yuhao away. F***CK, who are you to her? Why do you care so much? Zhou Yuhao was stopped by Chu Xiangnan. He suddenly felt that he had lost face. Especially in front of so many people, he felt that he had lost face. Why do you care so much about me? Chu Xiangnan was also a rebellious young man. Although he had restrained himself after staying in the military training camp for so long, Chu Xiangnan stopped someone like Zhou Yuhao out of kindness for Yun Jian. Who are you to her? Why do you care so much? Do you know who I am? I'm already a black belt in Taekwondo. Do you want to fight with me? Zhou Yuhao pointed at Chu Xiangnan's nose and shouted loudly. This shout attracted the attention of the people around them. However, Zhou Yuhao was proud of himself for saying this. He even felt Yun Jian's attention on him. He raised his head even more proudly. It was as if he was saying, "I know Taekwondo and I'm good at fighting." Huh. Chu Xiangnan also slammed the table and stood up. He was about to fight with Zhou Yuhao when Yun Jian suddenly pulled him from behind. "Yun Jian, you?" Chu Xiangnan, including Chu Ning and the others, looked at Yun Jian in surprise. They did not understand what she meant. However, Yun Jian pulled Chu Xiangnan and said to Zhou Yuhao, "Okay, let's go for a walk after dinner." Zhou Yuhao heard this and laughed. He glared at Chu Xiangnan provocatively. Chapter 393. No way. Yun Jian, Are you really going to go out with him later? What about the karaoke we agreed on? Chu Xiangnan saw that Yun Jian had really agreed to Zhou Yuhao's request, and he was momentarily stunned. Then he pursed his lips and asked Yun Jian. Of course it's true. I don't know how to sing anyway, so I won't go to karaoke. Yun Jian smiled. She narrowed her eyes, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Zhou Yuhao, who was sitting opposite her, couldn't help but be stunned by her beauty once again. At this moment, Yun Jian was quiet and beautiful. She looked like a natural beauty. Her slightly narrowed eyes gave people an indescribable feeling. Chu Xiangnan wanted to say more, but he suddenly paused. He suddenly remembered that when Yun Jian had dealt with Peter, she had also narrowed her eyes and curled her lips like this. Could it be that Yun Jian was? Chu Xiangnan suddenly thought of this, so he didn't say anything else. Everyone saw that Chu Xiangnan didn't say anything, so they pretended not to know anything. Lin Mengyu had been hiding behind her friends, and she was just out of Yun Jian's line of sight. When she heard that Yun Jian had agreed to Zhou Yuhao's request, her smile widened. After dinner, Mayor Gu walked over to bid farewell to Yun Jian. He laughed and asked Yun Jian to come back to his house as a guest next time. He even patted Chu Xiangnan's shoulder and asked him to bring Yun Jian to his house as a guest. After Mayor Gu left, Zhou Yuhao immediately walked over to Yun Jian and said, "Pretty girl, you just promised to walk around with me. Let's go now." As he spoke, Zhou Yuhao even glared at Chu Xiangnan, as if showing off his charm. Tisk, Chu Xiangnan cursed Zhou Yuhao in his heart, but he was secretly cursing him in his heart, waiting to see Zhou Yuhao cry. Let's go. Yun Jian's hands were in the pockets of her long down jacket. She pursed her lips, narrowed her eyes, and curved her lips slightly. Hee, let's go, let's go. Zhou Yuhao gave Chu Xiangnan another provocative look before he followed Yun Jian's path. Watching Yun Jian and Zhou Yuhao leave from afar, Chu Xiangnan, Chu Ning, and the others even saw Zhou Yuhao reach out to grab Yun Jian's hand, but Yun Jian evaded him, not even letting him touch the corner of her clothes. F***ck, what's wrong with Yun Jian? Chu Xiangnan watched Yun Jian leave and couldn't help but complain. Chu Ning suddenly placed her index finger on her lips. She wanted Chu Xiangnan to keep quiet. What's wrong? Chu Xiangnan was stunned. He didn't know what was going on. At this moment, another group of people suddenly came out of the hotel. This group of people was the group of young men and women of the same age who were sitting at the table beside them just now. After this group of people came out, they carefully chased after Yun Jian and Zhou Yuhao. When this group of young men and women disappeared in front of them, Chu Xiangnan smacked his head and said hatefully, F***ck, so they had a plan. So many people bullying one person, let's go. Let's go help Yun Jian kill them. Chu Xiangnan had an inexhaustible energy and was especially loyal. When he saw so many people walking towards Yun Jian and Zhou Yuhao, he knew that the situation wasn't good, so he quickly ran over with Chu Ning and the others. On Yun Jian's side, Zhou Yuhao was walking side by side with her. Yun Jian kept a distance of 2 meters from Zhou Yuhao. Let's go through this alley to the opposite street and walk around, shall we? Zhou Yuhao brought Yun Jian to the designated deserted place. You decide. Yun Jian lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes fluttered. Let's go. Zhou Yuhao watched as Yun Jian took the lead and walked into the deserted alley. He smiled slyly and quickly followed. When Lin Mengyu and the others reached the entrance of the alley, Yun Jian and Zhou Yuhao had already disappeared from everyone's sight. Hurry up and follow them, don't let them get away. Lin Mengyu whispered and led the group of people inside. However, even when they were about to pass through the alley and reach the opposite street, they still didn't see Yun Jian and Zhou Yuhao. What's wrong with Zhou Yuhao? Where is he? Where did he take her? Lin Mengyu shouted in exasperation. Lin Mengyu thought that with Zhou Yuhao's Taekwondo black belt, he could easily take care of Yun Jian. Are you looking for me? A soft female voice came from behind them. Lin Mengyu and the others turned around in fear and saw Yun Jian dusting her hands as if she was dusting them off. Then, Yun Jian was already standing behind them silently. Behind Yun Jian was Zhou Yuhao, who was tied up with hemp rope and had a rag stuffed in his mouth. Chapter 394. Zhou Yuhao. Lin Mengyu's hands trembled as she pointed at Zhou Yuhao, who was tied up, and screamed. Zhou Yuhao was tied up by Yun Jian. Zhou Yuhao was a black belt in Taekwondo. Other things aside, Zhou Yuhao's Taekwondo was at a whole new level. At the same time, he was also the strongest among Lin Mengyu's relatives. Zhou Yuhao's bones were strong since he was young. In addition, his family originally ran a martial arts school. Zhou Yuhao had been learning Taekwondo, Sanda, Judo, and so on from his father since he was young. He could be said to be invincible since he was young. Therefore, Zhou Yuhao's skills were naturally at a level where there was nothing to complain about. Especially among his peers, Zhou Yuhao had not met many opponents since he was young. Therefore, he was called the Taekwondo genius of the younger generation. Lin Mengyu obviously knew that Yun Jian had some skills. She had almost crippled herself with one kick. Therefore, Lin Mengyu let Zhou Yuhao deal with Yun Jian. It was all because of Zhou Yuhao's skills that he could suppress Yun Jian. After all, he was a black belt in the highest level of Taekwondo. However, she did not expect that just as Yun Jian and Zhou Yuhao stepped into the alley, they immediately followed behind. In such a short period of time, Zhou Yuhao was tied up by Yun Jian silently. There was not even the slightest sound of struggle. Therefore, Lin Mengyu and the others were shocked and panicked. Especially Lin Mengyu. She had seen Yun Jian's methods. Because of Yun Jian, she was bedridden for God knows how many days. Several of her ribs in her abdomen were broken. Ah! Lin Mengyu saw Yun Jian looking at her from the corner of her eyes. She saw Yun Jian's narrowed eyes. Her deep eyes seemed to carry a sharp blade. Lin Mengyu screamed on the spot. Fear and panic instantly covered her mind. Run! Run! Lin Mengyu's intuition told her that she had to run. She had to run away from Yun Jian. Therefore, Lin Mengyu suddenly turned around. She even wanted to abandon the group of friends behind her and run away first. You want to run? Do you think you can still escape? Yun Jian suddenly broke into a smile. Her evil smile was faintly revealed, but when everyone saw it, they couldn't help but panic. Lin Mengyu ran for a while. Yun Jian crossed her arms in front of her chest. She didn't chase after her. Lin Mengyu hadn't even taken 5 steps before she was surrounded by Chu Xiangnan and the other 5 who had caught up from behind in groups of 3. At this moment, Jiang Weiwei stopped Lin Mengyu. Jiang Weiwei held a dagger in her hand and pointed it at Lin Mengyu, forcing Lin Mengyu to retreat. Hee. Yun Jian crossed her arms as she looked at the pale faces of Lin Mengyu and the others. She lifted her leg and moved closer to Lin Mengyu. Yun Jian was not surprised by the arrival of Jiang Weiwei and the others. This was because when they were having dinner at the hotel, she had secretly sent a message to Chu Ning who was sitting on the other side of her. She had asked Chu Ning to lead the group and wait for Lin Mengyu and the others to follow her and Zhou Yuhao to surround them from both sides of the alley. You, what are you trying to do? Sob. At this moment, Lin Mengyu was forced to take a few steps back by Yun Jian's aura. However, she realized that her back was facing the sharp blade in Jiang Weiwei's hand. She was so frightened that she screamed and started to cry without caring about her image. Yun Jian was unmoved. She only tilted her head slightly and looked at Lin Mengyu and the others. The corners of her beautiful mouth were slightly raised. Chapter 395. You want to kill me? Lin Mengyu was dumbfounded when she heard that. Her whole body began to tremble. Yun Jian wanted to kill her. Yun Jian wanted to kill her? No. You can't kill me. What you're doing is against the law. It's against the law. Lin Mengyu shrieked. Her voice was very sharp, and her screams sounded like the squeals of a pig being slaughtered. Your voice is very loud. Unfortunately, this is the alley you found. There's no one around. Even if you scream yourself hoarse, no one will hear you, Yun Jian said with a chuckle as she flipped her hand and pulled out the butterfly knife that she had been carrying with her. Then, while Lin Mengyu and the others were panicking, Yun Jian took a step forward. She threw the butterfly knife away and placed the blade on Lin Mengyu's neck. I wonder how beautiful it would be to cut open a throat that can make such a loud scream. Yun Jian slid the blade of the butterfly knife left and right on Lin Mengyu's neck, but she didn't let the blade go deep into Lin Mengyu's throat. Ah! Lin Mengyu's scream became softer and softer. She felt the coldness of the blade of the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand. She instantly felt as if she was wandering around in a hopeless situation. Yun Jian's seemingly lifeless eyes that were akin to the king of hell seemed to be sketching something. At this moment, Yun Jian gave off the feeling that she was a fearless grim reaper. She didn't seem to be afraid of anything. She only existed to kill her. Lin Mengyu was walking on the edge of despair. It was her first time facing Yun Jian like this. Right now, Yun Jian was truly like the Grim Reaper who lured souls away from the underworld. I was wrong, I was wrong. Yun Jian, let me go. Let me go. I beg you, sob sob sob. Lin Mengyu reached out and grabbed Yun Jian's wrist that was holding the butterfly knife. She was so scared that she slowly knelt down in front of Yun Jian. Let you go? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. Her low voice sounded even more terrifying. Yes, yes, let me go, I beg you, I'm sorry, I promise you. I shouldn't have treated you like that in the past. Yun Jian, please don't kill me on account that I didn't really do anything to you in the past. No. At this moment, Lin Mengyu had a premonition that if she persisted, Yun Jian's butterfly knife would really slice her neck. You didn't do anything to me back then? When Yun Jian heard this, she really wanted to laugh. The original owner had begged Lin Mengyu in the same way, begging her not to hit her, begging her not to bully her anymore. The original owner even swore to Lin Mengyu that she would not have anything to do with Lin Mengyu's boyfriend, Yuan Ingjun. But what about Lin Mengyu? She directly kicked the original owner unconscious, then punched and kicked her. In a moment of carelessness, he even kicked a vital point. In his despair, the original owner lost his will to live and died. No, no. Besides, I've already apologized to him. Yun Jian, I was wrong. Lin Mengyu's voice was almost hoarse from shouting. She was now extremely regretful and scared. The butterfly knife was still stuck to her throat, motionless. Listen, the previous Yun Jian is already dead. The Yun Jian standing in front of you now can take your life at any time. Yun Jian looked at Lin Mengyu's terrified expression and immediately laughed. Chu Xiangnan and the others took advantage of the time when Yun Jian was dealing with Lin Mengyu to beat up Lin Mengyu's other helpers. Without formal training, it was impossible to achieve that kind of agility and nimbleness. When Chu Xiangnan thought of Zhou Yuhao who was showing off in front of him, he walked over with an evil smile and tore off the rag covering Zhou Yuhao's mouth. Little guy, do you have anything to say before you die? Chu Xiangnan looked at Zhou Yuhao with a smile. Who are you guys? Zhou Yuhao lost his voice and shouted. Why are Yun Jian and the others so agile? They are like people from the military. Why? They are around the same age as me. Hey, let me tell you, we are special forces. Chu Xiangnan fiercely slapped Zhou Yuhao's head and said arrogantly. Then, Chu Xiangnan pointed at Yun Jian and continued to say to Zhou Yuhao, unfortunately, you provoked the most powerful one among us. Hee, she can kill 100 of you with one hand. Chapter 396. They were special forces. More importantly, Yun Jian was the strongest among them. Zhou Yuhao stared at Yun Jian and the others in a daze, fear and trepidation engulfing him. Special forces? Who were those people? They were people protected by the country. He couldn't move at all. And Yun Jian and the girls were so young. No matter how hard Zhou Yuhao thought, he couldn't imagine that they were special forces at such a young age. No, you're lying. Yun Jian, how could you be special forces? When you were in Xinjiang town, you were just a student. How could you be special forces? Lin Mengyu wasn't even afraid of the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand when she heard that. She looked at Yun Jian in shock and cried out again. When Yuan Yingjun and Lin Mengyu were dating, Yuan Yingjun fell in love with the previous host and kept pestering her. This caused Lin Mengyu to think that the previous host had seduced her boyfriend and beat her up. Of course, before this, Lin Mengyu had investigated the previous host's background. The previous host's background was simple. Even if she was beaten to death, she didn't have anyone backing her up. Her mother was just a worker in a textile factory and her father was a gambler. After knowing this, Lin Mengyu gathered the two girls and brought the previous host to the toilet to beat her up. Now that she was suddenly told that Yun Jian was a special forces member and the strongest one among them, how could Lin Mengyu believe it? No matter how much a person changed, it couldn't be that big, right? How is it not possible? K, shut up you bitch. Yun Jian, just give her a knife and see if she believes it or not. Chu Xiangnan slapped Zhou Yuhao's face harshly again. He turned to roar at Lin Mengyu, looking exactly like a ruffian. No. I believe. Lin Mengyu trembled when she heard that and quickly shouted. Whether you believe or not has nothing to do with me. All I want is your life. Yun Jian's lips curled into a smile. She twirled the butterfly knife in her hand before stabbing it into Lin Mengyu's head. No. Ah. Lin Mengyu saw the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand coming down on her head. She screamed and closed her eyes, all the cells in her body screaming in fear. Not only Lin Mengyu, but even Zhou Yuhao and the others had all closed their eyes. Lin Mengyu's other relatives were all squatting on the ground in fear. Their roars and begging for mercy resounded through the sky. Swish! Just as everyone watched in horror as the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand plunged toward Lin Mengyu's head, a loud shriek rang out. Yun Jian suddenly narrowed her eyes. Her fierce pupils contracted and then narrowed again. Even her pupils were emitting an unusual color. At the same time, Yun Jian suddenly retracted the butterfly knife in her hand. Just when Lin Mengyu thought that the knife was about to land in front of her, Yun Jian tossed it away abruptly, tossing it toward a visible pile of trash at the corner of the alley. Ping! Just as the butterfly knife was about to pierce through the pile of trash and fly to the back of the pile of trash, a pair of hands suddenly appeared. Everyone was dazzled. They saw a 16 or 17-year-old girl in black clothes suddenly stand up from behind the pile of trash. The girl in black clothes faced the butterfly knife. She dodged to the left and right and then did a somersault in the air. Other than Yun Jian, no one at the scene expected someone to be hiding there. They were all shocked. After the girl in black clothes stood up straight, she looked at Yun Jian. Her expression suddenly became surprised. She went forward and greeted Yun Jian respectfully. Lan Su greets the sorcerer goddess. The black-clothed girl's shout shocked everyone. Chapter 397. The black-clothed girl who called herself Lan Su made Yun Jian and the others frown. Lin Mengyu had escaped death. Her face paled, and her eyelids rolled back. She fainted. As for Zhou Yuhao and the others, they looked at Lan Su in shock and fear. As for Chu Xiangnan and the rest, they too had turned their gazes towards the girl in the black dress. What did she call Yun Jian? Sorcerer goddess? What was that? Lan Su, who had suddenly appeared, was dressed in black. Her plain clothes accentuated her tall and slender figure. She was a classic beauty with thin eyebrows, long eyelashes, big eyes, and fair skin. However, what was surprising wasn't Lan Su's appearance, but the fact that she was dressed in black. It was an ancient style, but the clothes she wore were different. The fabric on Lan Su's body was of the highest quality. Furthermore, her ancient black dress exposed her ankles. Chu Xiangnan looked at Lan Su in shock. At the same time, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. The moment she saw Lan Su, an image popped into her head. However, when she thought about it carefully, she realized that she had never seen Lan Su before. Yet, for some reason, she felt that this young girl who called herself Lan Su seemed to have met her before. Sorcerer Goddess, don't you remember Lan Su? Seeing that Yun Jian didn't say anything, Lan Su took 2 steps towards Yun Jian. Her surprised expression was gradually replaced by disappointment. From the moment Lan Su appeared, she didn't even look at Chu Xiangnan and the others or Lin Mengyu, who was lying on the ground. Her pair of bright, beautiful eyes were fixed on Yun Jian. It was as if she was waiting for Yun Jian's answer. You. Yun Jian placed her hand on her forehead. She looked at Lan Su in front of her and paused. Then, she looked at her and shook her head. Should I know you? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She pursed her red lips and stared at Lan Su with her deep, playful eyes. Suddenly, she became vigilant. It wasn't that Yun Jian thought too much. Just now, Lan Su had been hiding behind a pile of trash. She discovered her in time and threw the butterfly knife at her. Lan Su had called her sorcerer goddess in a flash. Yun Jian had encountered this kind of familiar situation in her previous life. There were even assassins who used this method to attract her attention in order to hide their identity and assassinate her. It was Yun Jian's first time meeting this girl who called herself Lan Su. Even if she felt a sense of familiarity, she would not let her guard down. Yun Jian, when did you know such a beautiful girl? Why didn't you introduce her to me earlier? He. When Chu Xiangnan saw Lan Su, he was shocked by Lan Su's black clothes, her beautiful figure, and her beautiful face. He walked over and patted Yun Jian's shoulder. Chu Xiangnan used to be a typical hedonist, although he had restrained himself a little now. However, it was hard to change one's nature. Lan Su's appearance was completely different from Yun Jian's pure, clean, and exquisite face. Lan Su was tall and beautiful, while Yun Jian gave people a kind of pure and exquisite beauty. Yun Jian's beauty made people unable to take their eyes off her. Chu Xiangnan, are you stupid? Yun Jian already said that she doesn't know her. Chu Ning slapped Chu Xiangnan's shoulder hard. She pouted and shouted unhappily when she saw Chu Xiangnan paying so much attention to other girls. Lan Su didn't even look at Chu Xiangnan. She kept her eyes on Yun Jian. Finally, she was silent for a moment and took out something from her arms. She said to Yun Jian, Sorcerer Goddess, you don't remember me, but it's impossible that you don't recognize this. In this world, only you and the Lord Immortal can send it back. Yun Jian looked at the thing in Lan Su's hand and her eyes narrowed. The sandalwood box. Wasn't the sandalwood box already in Yulong mainland? Chapter 398. If Lan Su didn't have the sandalwood box, then Yun Jian would be more or less cautious. After all, the girl in front of her had an unknown background, and Yun Jian couldn't be sure that she wasn't an assassin sent to assassinate her. Assassins and secret agents nowadays were very good at hiding, and Yun Jian never lacked the necessary vigilance toward strangers. However, Lan Su took out the sandalwood box. The sandalwood box. Yun Jian naturally remembered that the sandalwood box was placed by Ce in the ancient tomb, at the opposite end of the stone cave that no one could pass through. It was a place that didn't belong to the real world. That place was called the Yulong continent, and it was a place that was completely different from the space they were living in now. Back then, there was only one entrance to the stone cave, and Yun Jian had experienced how powerful the mechanisms in that stone cave were. Normal people wouldn't be able to enter it. There were many people waiting for the stone door to open, but until now, no one had been able to wait for a year to enter through the stone door. Therefore, she could basically conclude that the girl in front of her, who called herself Lan Su, was from the Yulong continent. Back then, CE had hidden the sandalwood box very well. If it wasn't someone from the Yulon continent, it would be impossible for them to discover the sandalwood box. Yun Jian pursed her red lips, but she couldn't help but look at the girl in front of her seriously. I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. Go away, don't get in the way of me getting to know pretty girls. Chu Xiangnan didn't hear the source of Chu Ning's anger at all. He even flicked Chu Ning's head and shouted. Then, Chu Xiangnan took advantage of the moment when Yun Jian was still in a daze to run over to Lan Su. He grinned and said, Hey, pretty girl, what sorcerer god, monarch god? Chu Xiangnan was an expert at flirting with girls, especially when it came to pretty girls who were to his liking. He would always think of ways to strike up a conversation. Lu Shiyun and the others face-bombed. They were no longer surprised by Chu Xiangnan's actions. Just as Chu Xiangnan wanted to slowly strike up a conversation with Lan Su glanced at Chu Xiangnan. She looked at Chu Xiangnan and said coldly, Kid, get out of my way. Lan Su actually called Chu Xiangnan a kid? When Lu Shiyun and the others heard this, they all laughed maniacally. Ha ha ha. Kid. Chu Xiangnan, you're a kid. Did you hear that? She called you a kid. Chu's face, Lan Su's face, and Lan Su's. In the face of everyone's laughter, Yun Jian was unmoved. She pursed her lips and looked at Lan Su. The cheerful atmosphere between Chu Xiangnan and the others was a stark contrast to Yun Jian and Lan Su. Chu Xiangnan and the others quickly quieted down. Yun Jian, on the other hand, looked at Lan Su and finally said slowly, Let's talk somewhere else. Since it was related to the sandalwood box, Yun Jian couldn't speak in front of Chu Xiangnan and the others and Lan Su. What's the matter? You don't have to be so secretive, do you? Chu Xiangnan shouted after hearing this. As soon as Chu Xiangnan finished speaking, Chu Ning gave him a headbutt. You two go ahead. We'll stand here and wait for you. Lu Shiyun was smart, and he gestured to Yun Jian. Okay. Yun Jian nodded, and then said, If you can't wait, you guys can go first. After saying that, she called Lan Su to go with her to talk alone. Yun Jian chose a quiet coffee shop nearby. After ordering a cup of coffee, the two of them sat across from each other. When the sorcerer god died, the sorcerer clan would be destroyed. Reality proved that after the sorcerer god left, the Wu clan gradually declined. From being the first clan of Yulon continent 1,000 years ago, they could not even maintain their status as a clan. However, none of the clansmen gave up waiting for the sorcerer god's return. This was because the sorcerer god had said that she would definitely return after 1,000 years. Everyone believed that the sorcerer god's return would be the time for the sorcerer clan to rise to its peak. Sorcerer god, thank you for leaving the crystal ball behind. You also left a statement that when the crystal ball breaks, it will be the time for you to return. Because of this, I was able to sense your return and find you. Lan Su explained everything in one breath. So you want to bring me to Yulon continent? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows and asked. Lan Su raised her eyebrows slightly. She nodded vigorously and said, Of course. Only if you return with me will the sorcerer tribe have a chance to rise again. Chapter 400. Why? Lan Su was stunned. She shouted excitedly, but her face was filled with confusion and disappointment. There's no reason. It's because I have my own life. Yun Jian placed the coffee on the table. She pursed her lips, and her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Yulon continent. The old man who had helped her in her previous life was also there. However, Yun Jian would not go there, at least not in the near future. Her family and all the people she cared about were there, so Yun Jian did not plan to leave. Is that so? Lan Su lowered her eyes in disappointment. After a while, she raised her head again and looked at Yun Jian with a determined gaze. Sorcerer Goddess, whether you're willing to go back with me or not, please allow me to stay by your side. Lan Su doesn't want to leave you again. As the first guardian of the Sorcerer Goddess, Lan Su had finally found Yun Jian after much difficulty. Naturally, she was unwilling to leave. It's up to you, Yun Jian said lazily. Then, she pushed the sandalwood box back to Lan Su. Keep this for now. Yun Jian knew how eye-catching the sandalwood box was. Back then, her younger brother had been caught and lost his life because of the sandalwood box. Yun Jian did not want to take any more risks. Since Lan Su was from the Yulong continent, returning the sandalwood box to Lan Su was the best way to deal with this. Also, if you want to stay by my side in the future, don't call me Sorcerer Goddess. Yun Jian grinned. Then, she smiled and revealed her white teeth to Lan Su. My name is Yun Jian. Yes, yes. Lan Su understood that Yun Jian allowed her to follow her. She smiled and nodded at Yun Jian. Let's go. They must have waited for a long time. After the conversation, Yun Jian stood up. She paid the bill and left the cafe with Lan Su. They were naturally Lu Shiyun and the others. Yun Jian knew that Lu Shiyun and the others would not leave. As for why Yun Jian left Lan Su behind, this was probably due to his intuition. Lan Su from the Yulong continent gave Yun Jian a sense of déjà vu. However, Yun Jian could not describe this feeling. She just felt that it was familiar, and there was no sense of alienation. In addition, the sandalwood box that Lan Su had taken out earlier was enough to prove that she was from the Yulong continent. This could not be false. Moreover, a person's eyes could speak for themselves. Lan Su's eyes told her that she wasn't lying. After Lan Su and Yun Jian got up and left the coffee shop, they heard a child's naughty voice behind them. Hey, Mom, why is that big sister wearing such strange clothes? The child's mother touched the child's head and lectured, she's probably a lunatic. Baby, you can't learn from her in the future. By then, Yun Jian and Lan Su had left the cafe and were walking towards the alley. Yun Jian, you're back. What should we do with these people? Lu Shiyun and the others came up and asked Yun Jian. Lin Mengyu had fainted while Zhou Yuhao was still tied up and trembling. Kill them and bury them. Yun Jian raised her eyebrow. No. We won't do it again. It's all Lin Mengyu's fault. She ordered us to do it. It's not my fault. The group panicked. Especially when Yun Jian really did stab Lin Mengyu in the head with a knife. She was a woman of her word, even though she did not hurt her in the end. Teach them a lesson. Lu Shiyun also noticed that Yun Jian did not really want to kill the group. He was smart enough to tell the rest of Team Monarch. In the end, it was Chu Xiangnan who came up with an idea. He went to buy a marker pen and drew a tortoise on everyone's back. He asked them to wear it when they went home, or else they would be taught a lesson. Chu Xiangnan's method was a complete embarrassment to these people. Chapter 401. She believed that this lesson would be etched in her memory for the rest of her life. Yun Jian brought Lan Su to buy a few sets of modern clothes. Lan Su's black outfit that resembled an ancient costume was too eye-catching on the streets. There were not many actors in this era and movies were not as popular as they were now. After all, it was rare to see a television set at home in 1998, let alone a color TV. Back then, the average monthly income of a citizen was only a few hundred yuan. And a TV set would cost at least a few thousand yuan to buy. Some people had to save up their salary for about half a year before they could buy a color TV set. Of course, no one was dumb enough to save up their salary without eating or drinking for a few months just to buy a color TV. After all, food, shelter, and transportation were the most basic survival principles under the premise of enjoying entertainment. Therefore, Lan Su's get-up looked like a lunatic to others. Not many people would think of Lan Su as an actress. Great Sorcerer Goddess. Yun Jian. Where am I staying tonight? Lan Su almost blurted out the words, "Great sorcerer goddess," in a moment of carelessness. Since they were on the crowded street, Lan Su was quick to correct herself, so her words were choked in the cradle before she could utter them. Lan Su was older than Yun Jian, so she would not call Yun Jian Sister Jian. Moreover, Lan Su looked like she was only 16 or 17 years old, but she had lived for at least a few thousand years. Yun Jian knew this as well because Lan Su had admitted it herself. Lan Su had also told Yun Jian before that people in Yulong mainland could easily live up to a few thousand years as long as they cultivated. More importantly, there was a sacred spring in Yulong mainland. If humans used the sacred spring to wash away their impurities, they could cultivate like the people of Yulong mainland and live for more than a few thousand years. It was unfortunate that the sacred spring was long gone. Since tens of thousands of years ago, not a single human had stepped foot into the Yulong mainland. Yun Jian and Ce, as well as Ce's subordinates, Adam and Mo Sen, broke this record. "I'll find someone to arrange a place for you." Yun Jian pursed her lips and said. After she finished speaking, she took out her phone and called Zhang Jifan's new phone. Beep, beep, beep. The phone rang 3 times. Zhang Jifan answered it on time. "Hello, Sister Jian?" Zhang Jifan's honest, middle-aged voice came from the phone. This thing could actually make a sound? Lan Su couldn't help but take a few more glances. In the Yulong continent, such high-tech products did not exist. However, Lan Su's tolerance was not bad. She had gradually accepted the new technology of the human world. She was just not used to it yet. Arrange a deluxe suite. It must be the best and most comfortable one. Stay there for the long term, Yun Jian said into the phone. Zhang Jifan, who was on the other end of the phone, was stunned before his voice came again. "Okay, Sister Jian." Yun Jian hung up. Not long after that, the phone beeped with a message notification. Yun Jian looked up and saw that it was from Zhang Jifan. The address on it was the accommodation he had found. After Yun Jian arranged Lan Su's accommodation and settled her there, she went to Qin Yu's place. Qin Yu's residence was a complete suite with top-notch interior decoration. Qin Yu had saved up quite a lot of money after following Yun Jian all these years. Yun Jian was going to look for Qin Yu this time to tell her. 3 days later, she would return to the Kosha mercenaries with her. Before this, Yun Jian had already contacted Snake. Lizard. 3 days later, she would return to the Kosha mercenaries and eliminate them. Dong. Yun Jian had just knocked on Qin Yu's door when the door was pushed open. Unlocked? Yun Jian went in directly, but just as she opened the door, Yun Jian saw a familiar figure. On the sofa in the living room, Yuni was pinning Qin Yu down on the sofa with her elbow propped up, both of them in an extremely awkward position. Yun Jian was speechless. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.